9BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
There we go. Hey, welcome on in to the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia, glad you're with us. Thanks for listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950, Odyssey, iHeartRadio. Tune in if you're listening on your phone and your mobile, or if you're watching on our YouTube video stream, our YouTube channel and our Twitch channel, The Fan Rochester. I'm Danger, and that's Battaglia.
Going into college, and the Stones had just put out Steel Wheels. It was one of their last albums, and the title track off of that, Mixed Emotions. I thought, oh, this is timely. Like, you're going away to something new, exciting, but you're really kind of leaving things behind. Like, for Steeler fans, there are little mixed emotions today, I would think, right? Things you have been talking about, things
I don't know. Really? I don't know a single Steelers fan right now that's upset. If you're a Steeler fan that's upset with the move today, the news today, that Mike Tomlin has stepped down as a head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, please, by all means, start us off at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. I don't know one. I don't know a single Steeler fan that is like, I don't know. Don't know if that's a good move. They were ready. And I think that's part of why Tomlin stepped down. My theory is that coaches for the Steelers will never get fired, but they will make you hate coaching so much that you will never coach again. Cowher never coached again. Noel never coached again. I don't think Tomlin's coaching again. I think this is it. He's done. He's going to get a taste of what life is like when you don't have an entire city after you. For all he did was win every season. Mm-hmm. Not enough. Not enough. And I think that started to wear on him a few years ago. And then I also think about during his 19 years, I think about all of the characters that have gone through that locker room. And I'm not saying that every locker room is like the Bills. It feels like the Bills have a locker room full of Boy Scouts. And I know that that's not true, but if they get into trouble, we don't hear about it.
They just have a great PR team. That helps.
In Pittsburgh, I feel like Tomlin shielded a lot of the crazy. And think about some of the characters that he had to work with. That went James Harrison, a psycho. Burris, Plexico Burris, Santonio Holmes, Antonio Brown.
That's number one on the list.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Le'Veon Bell.
Lev Bell. Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's dealt with some psychos. He's dealt with some crazy people, some wild personalities, and you would never know while they were in Pittsburgh. We found out Antonio Brown lost his mind after he left Pittsburgh. Same thing with Holmes. TJ Watt. I mean, you've dealt with some big ego, big personality guys, and in Pittsburgh, you wouldn't have known it. Right? Like Aaron Rodgers this year wasn't a story. He was controlled.
Up until last night, he was doing the things that were necessary to win football games. He wasn't throwing picks. Last night he had the longest streak in the NFL without throwing a pick at 231 passes.
He was respectable.
Now, to me, it seems like it's over. If Tomlin's walking away, why is Rodgers going to sign up? I'm sure Aaron's not going to do everybody a favor and say, "Hey, I'm done too, thanks," and then go to a cave. No, he's probably going to have everybody guessing because he needs to be on McAfee and keep his But today's not about him. It's about Mike Tomlin. And what I'm saying with the mixed emotion thing is, careful what you wish for because you don't really know what's on the other side of that door. If I had to predict what's on the other side of the door, what the Steelers should do, because they've been band-aiding this for how many years? How many years? I know exactly how many years. Let me put it this way, Danger, okay? For the Pittsburgh Steelers, the last time they won a playoff game, I know the date. Or I know the day it happened. It was on the same day or the same weekend that the Buffalo Bills lost the playoff game to Jacksonville. That was 2017 because the next weekend, Jacksonville goes into Pittsburgh and smashes them.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacksonville ends up in the AFC Championship game after having beaten Pittsburgh and Buffalo before that. That's 2017. So you're right. It's time. You haven't won a playoff game in nearly a decade. It's time to kind of move on to something else. And I don't – the coach that leaves and goes into TV. Now, for Cowher, I don't know if that was the plan all along. The Bills made a serious run at him, but at the time, Cowher's wife was sick, and she ended up passing. So he did the right thing and, stayed at home. And Cowher suggests a man that this was my offensive coordinator, and he has head coaching experience in Dallas. You should hire him, Mr. Wilson. That's how Chan Gailey became the Bills head coach. For Mike Tomlin, he's going to have no shortage of suitors. He is going to play well on TV. But once you get to that lifestyle, like
going back.
Jimmy John. Now, it's not true for everybody. Like Sean Payton did the 1 year because really he had to do the 1 year, and he jumped right back in. Belichick would have loved to jump back in the NFL. Nobody would have him. He's stuck at North Carolina. So to me, I'm not saying Tomlin isn't coming back, but I would think that he might, if I had to lean one way, that's it for him.
Deanna, one of our Steeler fan friends on X, at the fan Rochester, it was time a year ago, really. It was clear to me that he didn't have the stomach to work with a young quarterback to put pieces in place to bring them along. He inherited a quarterback who was already developed, and after the Pickett mess, he relied on veterans at QB instead. I've heard Steeler fans say it's 3 years too late, like this should have happened 3 years ago. Think about the fact that right now in the AFC North, Zach Taylor is the elder statesman. He's the only one left. You could make a case, if you wanted to. You could make a case that you could just shuffle the deck here. Harbaugh to Pittsburgh, Stefanski goes to Baltimore, and Tomlin goes to Cleveland. However you want to mix it up. I don't think it's going to happen that way, but I think it's fascinating that 3/4 of that division now are without a head coach.
Well, it's kind of an end of an era because we're just kind of bystanders, right? Here in Western New York, but that Steelers-Ravens rivalry, it was different football every year. You knew what to kind of expect, hard hitting, and it's going to feel a lot different. Sure, Lamar is there and Watt's still there next year, but to have those two head coaches on the sideline, I think it's also noteworthy to point out, Danger, that the contrasting styles that both ended. Harbaugh was fired. And there was some drama. Was it the OC not getting along with Lamar? Was it the owner issuing an ultimatum? Believe whatever report you want to believe. This, to me, if it was roughly, 15 hours after a playoff loss, this is the Steelers. They don't do anything impulsively. My read on this was Tomlin long ago saying, this is it for me, but we're not going to make this public. This is about the team. And now that everybody's, in this head coaching cycle, you couldn't give it any more time here. You had to make this move, make this announcement now, just so you can start the interview process.
So that leaves us with how many vacancies right now?
Yes.
The sports bar.
9 times.
Is there a show that has more inside jokes than us here in the sports bar? That is 9 head coaching vacancies. Can we get it to 10? Can we get LaFleur out?
I don't think LaFleur is going anywhere. It's kind of crazy, right? Like Tomlin, I don't know if you knew this or not, never had a losing season as Steelers head coach. LaFleur has an unbelievable winning percentage in Green Bay. And they're gone. And look, every team has the right to manage it how they want to manage it. But it's a little comforting, I think, as a Bills fan to know that right now your head coach is the second longest tenured head coach in the NFL.
Tied with Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay.
Yeah.
In terms of, they were all hired in the year 2017.
Andy Reid is now the longest tenured head coach in Kansas City, which is weird because a lot of us remember him in Philadelphia more than we remember. It feels like just yesterday that he was in Philadelphia. He's been with the Chiefs now since 2013. Longest tenured head coach in the NFL.
Which that's like 3 years before Patrick Mahomes became the full-time starter. Isn't that crazy to think, too?
Yeah.
The Kansas City boring Chiefs with the beige Impala.
Yeah, they had some rough years before they hired Andy Reid. Just a couple of other notes from the coaching carousel. Stefanski interviewed with the Dolphins today. I haven't heard Brian Daboll's name really a ton, but he is going to interview with the Titans on Friday. The Chargers.
Time out for the head coaching job.
Yeah.
We need to point that out.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, we are still living off the who developed Josh Allen storyline, because what other reason would you interview Brian Daboll? Hey, we've got a young quarterback, and we see what you did in Buffalo with Josh Allen. That, like, he's going to get – I was stunned to see that, but all right, great. Good luck to Brian Daboll, but I don't think you get that job.
Greg Roman lost his job. That had to be tough for Jim Harbaugh. We know how tight Roman has been with the Harbaughs, and specifically with Jim, but dating back to his time in San Francisco. The Chargers move off of Greg Roman, and Mike Kafka and Todd Monken both going to interview for the Bucs OC opening as well. And as far as the Steelers opening, to bring it back around to the Steelers, I mean, right away, the first name that I think of would make a lot of sense would be Flores, right? Flores has familiarity with the organization. Get the sense that they liked Flores when he was there. The brief period of time they reached out to him, that was the first spot he went to, right? After the Miami debacle.
Well, I'm old enough to remember, like, when Noel left. Okay, who's this guy they're bringing in, Cowher? And he was there forever and a day. Finally got the Steelers to a Super Bowl, and then they hired Tomlin, and okay, that wasn't a really so they've had the reputation of picking out the next guy who's going to be there 15 years, and rather than somebody that might have experience. That would be a different way for this organization to go to get somebody that has a little bit of head coaching experience.
We have our lineup set for the divisional round Saturday. It will be the Broncos and Bills to get us started. The early game, 4:30 on CBS. Then in prime time Saturday, Seahawks hosting the Niners. That'll be on Fox just after 8 o'clock. Sunday, Texans, by virtue of their win last night in Pittsburgh, visit the Patriots. That'll be Sunday afternoon at 3 on ESPN. Rams-Bears wrap up the weekend, 6:30 on NBC in Chicago.
Is there a city in America that has more nutty weather than Denver? Okay, like it wouldn't surprise me. Like, hey, it's Memorial Day and today's Rockies game postponed because of snow. I'm exaggerating just a bit, but the forecast Sunday in Denver, danger 2:30 Mountain Time, the kickoff, 59 and sun. That's gonna print well. Heck, it's gonna feel like almost like you were in Jacksonville last week for the like. Can you imagine like if it were 59 and sun right now here? Oh my gosh, we're all walking around in t-shirts and shorts right now in Rochester.
Yeah, right. Denver is odd. I mean, they'll get hit with massive snowstorm and blizzards and crazy weather up in the mountains, but they'll also have a lot of sunshine. A lot of sunshine. They have, I believe, that they have the most sunny days per calendar year than any other.
Yeah.
Any other city, major city, which is kind of crazy. I think next to California, maybe next to like LA. But good weather for the Bills, Broncos. They'll get everything started divisional weekend with the early game on Saturday. And from last night, I don't want to root for the Patriots, but I'm going to root for the Patriots this weekend. If the Bills win and they have to go to Houston, I mean, look, I got to ride with the Bills because that was my preseason AFC Super Bowl prediction. But the way that defense continues to look, I mean, I thought going into that second half, this is such a Steelers game. They are doing just enough to stay in it. They've got the turnover battle won. They're within a score. One play, one fluky mistake could lead to them taking the lead and stealing this game from clearly a better team. More talent on that Houston, especially on that Houston defense. And now, right as I was thinking that, scoop and score, the turnover machine started, and I'm like, okay, well, this is done.
That's it, and we all turned it off a little early. I'll find out tomorrow when the Bills game is, the kickoff time, if they were holding us for that. Okay, I get what you're saying, but what on earth has happened to C.J. Stroud?
Sloppy.
Like that, careless.
Yeah.
Careless. two bad quarterbacks last night. That's what I saw. And one defense capitalized on the takeaways, the other did not. That's just the storyline, like the defense scoring for Houston and not for Pittsburgh. And it's really not Pittsburgh's fault. They took it away. They just had an offense that just couldn't get it done. So my favorite play was Aaron Rodgers just kind of laying down on a phantom sack. I'm always trying to translate how does this look in terms of Buffalo. That's a storyline next week, because I do expect that Houston defense to show up in New England. Tomorrow, everything's kind of jumbled up here between today and tomorrow, between the guest schedules if you're a sports bar regular, and there's good reason for that. The reason being because this schedule is all kind of moved up. Sean McDermott is going to talk somewhere right around now. So where we normally talk to Matt Perino at 3:25 every Tuesday, well, because the McDermott press conference is going on and then practice is going to start and all the stuff that normally wouldn't happen this time of day, Matt will join us tomorrow at 3:25. And then PJ Glasser was kind enough to move his spot back to 4:25 tomorrow. Later on the show today, we'll talk with Amerks head coach Mike Leone. The team coming off a wild overtime win against Belleville. The team home against Syracuse tomorrow night. Mike Leone at 4:25. Michael F. Florio from the NFL Network, fantasy football expert, but he's also a card-carrying member of Bills Mafia. We'll talk some Bills football with Michael F. Florio. And all right, team men's hockey coach Matt Thomas at 5:45. You can join us at 866-4FAN. 866-4326 is our number. Mike Danger, I did your job for you.
Yeah, very well done. That's how you set a table here in the sports bar. We found out today that the Bills opened up the practice window for both Ed Oliver and Curtis Samuel, and that's probably one of the things that will get addressed and asked of Sean McDermott when he speaks to the media here shortly. And as soon as we get that
we'll
that feed,
yeah.
we will get it live and up for you.
Okay. We can't run the lie detector test while the press conference is going
Sure
on.
can.
We can't. Live lie detector. Like, what would be the only thing you're lying? Here's the only thing I would think you would be lying about the Denver Broncos Bo Nix. Like, if you start really pumping the tires of Bo Nix, that's the hope here, right? That Bo Nix, second playoff game, first playoff game, didn't go very well. Now, everything else about the Denver defense should be true. Hey, you respect Sean Payton on the other side. That should be true. Tough assignment. That should be true. I don't expect many lies out of this McDermott press conference for today.
Well, we'll try to keep him honest when we get him here at the podium, and we're able to grab that feed hopefully here.
Well, we're on McDermott time. This is what reporters have to deal with all the time. Like, hey, what time is he actually going?
Yeah. As soon as we get it, we'll go to it live. You mentioned Michael F. Florio. He's going to stop by the sports bar here in a little bit. His idea of bringing back Elijah Moore from the Denver practice squad seems unlikely. Christian Wilkerson also added to the Buffalo Bills practice squad today. So with Samuel's practice window opening up again, the signing of Wilkerson, it sounds like what we heard from Jeremy White yesterday, which was that they didn't really leave on good terms, the Bills and Elijah Moore, that he'll indeed stay in Denver. And I wonder how much Elijah Moore will be able to provide Denver in terms of what the Bills' offense brings to the table.
Okay, so what should happen? Who's the guy that gets the call up? I would expect it's Hardman. Heck, the guy had the game-winning touchdown catch in the Super Bowl, okay? So he has experience. Yes, we've seen him, cough the ball up, certainly in his time in Kansas City and the one game he did play for the Bills. But in a game like this, Danger, hey, stretch the defense. Check them out once or twice. Like, what if you had Cooks and Hardman running two long verticals at one time and you put pressure on with Josh Allen's arm? I just run the one play. You read a lot about the Denver air, too, and everything else like that. I'm not worried about Josh Allen. Did you know, like, where he played in Wyoming is actually, more in elevation than Denver? So yeah.
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
so, like, you don't have to worry about Allen going back to Denver. But everybody else, all right, that might be a factor there when it comes to this game.
My only experience with Denver, I've been to Denver a handful of times, but my experience with Denver is if you are going to go out, it's going to hit you a little bit harder. Like if you go out at night, it's going to hit you a little bit harder than you're probably used to. So you have to kind of practice moderation. Not that the Bills would be going out, tearing up the town late at night before a divisional game. I don't think that happens as much as it used to happen in the old days. But, the thin Denver air can play tricks on you if you're going out at night.
You can write to us on X, The Fan Rochester. You can hit us up on Facebook. You can hit us up on YouTube, wherever you like. Tommy writing in, good afternoon, Gino. Great show with you in Danger yesterday. We ski quite a bit in Colorado, and the thin air thing is really a problem. But then we started buying these canisters of pure oxygen that really helped out a lot. What is that? What movie is that? That's Spaceballs. They're buying the
canned air.
Canned air. Tommy, what are you doing?
Hey, of course Tommy got himself some fresh oxygen because he's Italian.
Tommy,
Got that fresh oxygen along with some marinara in that can of fresh air.
I picture everybody in their ski gear with their helmets, but then there's Tommy, who we know with the hair all perfect, just kind of swooshing down the slope.
Yeah, great flow.
Ladies on his side.
Gold chain, horn on the gold chain, blowing in the wind. The smell of aqua velva down the slopes. Absolutely. That's our guy, Tommy Plantone. Hey, Gino, don't worry about that air. We take care of everything. You won't have to worry about it, Josh Adler. Don't worry. We'll take care of everything. That's it, man. That's, some pretty crazy stuff happening around the NFL. We mentioned those 9 openings, and I don't know, Gino, if you had an opportunity to rank the 9 vacancies.
Now that we're throwing Pittsburgh into there.
Yeah.
It's funny. You would have to do it like on a scale, right? Like, that's not the right word. Like on a 5-4-3-2-1 system in different categories, like based on, hey, you can rely on being there for a long time. Hey, based on the quarterback situation, based on the division, based on the ownership. Like, what would be like the number one factor in all that? Is it the ownership or the quarterback?
It's quarterback.
You could make the case for ownership, though.
Look, if I had to rank them, I would put teams like the Raiders and the Browns
and the Jets,
and the Dolphins.
Well, the Jets aren't all vacant, but yeah,
right.
Yeah,
those are the 3. Like the Cardinals, I would put down. Like those are dysfunctional organizations that have proven time and time again and shown their colors time and time again that they are dysfunctional.
I'd say the Giants. I think the Giants, maybe Dart is the guy, but you have a great draft pick. You have a solid defensive line. Scatterboo, you got to teach the right way to keep your head up when you're running. You get Neighbors back. I think there's parts there in the division that's winnable, but I know this is my New York arrogance coming out. I think it means a little bit more if you win in New York. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I don't disagree with that. So I would say that the Giants. I mentioned the 4 dysfunctional organizations: the Giants, the Ravens, the Steelers. Who am I forgetting? The Falcons. There's another 4, and I'm forgetting one other.
Giants, Ravens. My goodness.
I got them. Hang on.
Titans.
Oh, the Titans.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah. Okay, I'll go ahead and put the Titans in the dysfunctional pile with the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Dolphins, and the Browns. So really 4 good coaching jobs: the Steelers, the Ravens, the Giants, and I would say the Falcons. Falcons have a lot of nice pieces as well.
Packers should make the move too. The more I think about it,
not going to happen unless LaFleur goes in there with a head of steam and says, "This is I deserve this." Like, yeah. Then they could say, "That's not going to happen. We're going to go in a different direction."
So, yes or no on this? So tomorrow, I'm going on the Drake C. Toll show at 8:20 a.m. They asked me to come on and talk Buffalo Bills football. So if you haven't given the show a chance, he's only been on for a week and a half, right? But I'll be on tomorrow to represent Rochester 8:20. Mike Danger, does Drake C. Toll ask me if the Buffalo Bills lose this game, does Sean McDermott out as head coach?
He's going to ask the question.
He's going to ask the question. I'm going to have to say no.
Correct.
No.
Correct.
Now, if you want to have the Brandon Bean conversation.
I don't think that's happening now either.
I don't think so either.
If you lost in Jacksonville or if you lost in a spectacular way, then I think you're having that conversation about at least one of the two. But with the new stadium opening up, with this team once again not eliminated immediately in the postseason. The amount of winning that they've done, I'm sorry, it's still impressive. I know that everybody wants to throw stones at a 12-win team, but think about where they are and where they were for a long, long time. Can they get more out of what they have? I don't know. I mean, McDermott's done a pretty good job coaching this team this year. There's not as much talent as he's had in the past, and they are here again.
Well, he's going to have to do more because we know that Jordan Poyer isn't going to be available. He's week to week. They haven't said officially out, but the question is who's going to be that guy next to Cole Bishop. Do you ride with Jordan Hancock? Are you calling up a guy that we all love in DeMar Hamlin? Are you going with Cam Lewis, a guy who's versatile? Who's the person that should fit on this offense? And I think Jeremy White made a good point yesterday is that the way these games going, just stop the pass. It used to be run and stop the run. No, pass and stop the pass. That's why I'm almost thinking all right, as much as I like DeMar Hamlin and maybe Hancock develops into something, but this isn't the time. This might be just Cam Lewis. Cam, if the ball comes your direction, can you make a pick? But the thing is, that's not how they use that safety. They use them in run support. I get it. So that's going to be one thing that maybe McDermott addresses. His press conference running late here.
Yeah, we'll get to it here. Let's take a quick break. You can join us this afternoon, by the way, on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line, 866-4FAN, award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub at 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com. We're going to be joined by the Sean McDermott press conference next on The Fan.
You're listening to the...
One-stop shop for Bills football Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. and noon to 3 after game days. It's One Bills Live with Chris Brown and Steve Tasker on 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
We go live to Orchard Park. Sean McDermott speaking to the media.
Yes, Matt Milano, Greg Rousseau, all will be limited today. DeMar Hamlin will be full. And then Curtis Samuel and Ed Oliver, I think we talked about this yesterday, will be out there for practice. So with that, time's yours.
Sean, just the wide receiver room now. We talked about it yesterday, actually, but using another guy. What is that room? I guess, what does that mean for this room this week?
Yeah, another guy's got to step up. That's, point blank what it means. And I don't mean to be short. It's just right now it's full confidence in the guys in that room. And, we brought back Christian Wilkerson, and he'll be a good addition back to us on the practice squad, and we go from there.
What's your anticipation roster-wise at that position? Is that it?
For now.
Meaning for adding.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it too early in the week to know whether Curtis has a chance to be activated?
Yeah, we need to get out. I need to get out there today and see a little bit. It's more of a walkthrough, so it's going to be harder to tell. Just take it one day, Jay, as we go. And tomorrow we'll try and move around a little bit more, just trying to get the guys as fresh as possible in the short week.
I know you're not going to use it as an excuse because everybody's injured. But, Sean, do you recall a year that you've endured with as many injuries as you guys have had this year?
I mean, you said it, Sal. It's like every year there's injuries. You expect the injuries. It is a part of the game. And the amount we've had this year is it's significant. But what I need to focus on, what we need to focus on is what's right in front of us today. And that's handling the things that we can handle and control what we can control, which is obviously this walkthrough today we're about to have here in a few minutes. And it's next man up. That's pretty stone cold what it is and what has to happen here for us in about 5 days here.
I was just going to say on Shavers, that's fairly remarkable that he was able to play.
Yeah.
What does it say about his top?
Oh yeah. I mean, he embodies what we're all about. I mean, I believe it happened summer of second quarter when we went out there to look at him, and for him to then come back into the game and then for it to turn out to be what it was is remarkable. Remarkable toughness, remarkable commitment to the team.
With Curtis and Ed coming back, is there, anytime this happens, but because you have this short week and playoffs and everything, is there any kind of lead up in terms of evaluation or a guess to educate you on how much these guys could contribute, if at all? Or does it start cold at the window? What are you allowed to kind of observe about where these guys are in terms of their readiness to play?
Yeah, it's limited other than what we can get from the training staff. So, we base everything we get off of the information we get from them and then what the player is giving us. So it's never easy because everybody's going to want to play normally in these type of situations. And we've had guys in the past that have been, can they make it? Can they not? And everyone, their heart's in it. It's just a matter of, can they actually do it? And they're all different, cases year to year, but that's kind of the delicate spot we got to find with each situation.
Josh, is that just his foot, or is he dealing with anything else?
Same as what he went through last week, sore coming out of the game more than anything right now.
I know it's been a common theme for much of the season, I think, but the adversity and how much does the experience in the past inform you to not, to keep that game at a time focus in that sense and not, rip your hair out, I was going to say. Yes.
Have you seen, John?
But how much does that inform you in not panicking, or not to say that you would have panicked before, but just to keep that even keel approach?
For myself, you mean?
For
Or
yourself.
well, that's what you're required. It's what you are tasked to do as a leader, is be out in front and lead them. And whether it's, good times, but in particular in times where you face some adversity. So, I think we've done a good job of that over the years here. And, that's what we're tasked to do right now. So that's what we do. We're looking forward and, again, trying to control what's directly in front of us today.
John, what's the likelihood that Ed would be available this week?
Don't know. Similar to, I think Tim was asking maybe about Ed and Curtis both. I'm not sure. Maybe just Curtis, Tim. So we'll just have to see. Like I said, he'll be out there today. It's a walkthrough, so won't get a great feel. We just got to take it one day as we go here, one day at a time.
Is it because, this time of the year, you're trying to keep everybody as healthy during the week as possible? It's a limited week. Would seem to make it harder to evaluate somebody like Ed in the position he plays without sort of a little bit of leap of faith. That he feels good, the trainer's giving the okay.
Yeah.
But not having the physical contact as much.
Yeah, it's, we want to be as fresh as possible. It's another decision that we have to make, that I have to make on a 6-day week here, and just getting back, from Jacksonville, then turning around. So, you want to have as fresh of a team as possible and as healthy of a team as possible. Yet at the same time, we do have plenty of areas to improve on and work on. So we got to do a really good job of trying to find that balance this week here.
Sean, what have you seen out of Keon Coleman after the stretch of games where he was inactive? And how much are you looking at him specifically, maybe talking with him this week, saying, hey, we need you to step up?
Yeah. No, you said it. He along with others, need to step up, and confident he will. And he's moving in the right direction. You saw the production he had last week, the big play down the sideline. He continues to work on the other areas of the game as well that matter just as much as catching balls. So, that's his growth is going to be important for us down the stretch here.
What have you seen from Keon in terms of his growth off the
Just more attention to detail, more consistency, all the things that come with a young player maturing. And it's not to say that any of us are finished products. It's, that process continues. I would say, from the time that we had, the conversation that we did, the unfortunate conversation we had to have up to now, at least, he looks like he's understanding a little bit more what's required.
Where do you think Dalton Kincaid is in his arc of being unable to hurt the play to being physical or doing everything he can?
Yeah, I think like we talked about, what was the phrase we used, Derek? It was injury management. Yeah, that's still the window or the category I would say we're in. I feel like he handled it extremely well last week, and we'll see where it goes this week. Getting again some rest during the week. That again, the combination should help him as well.
John, you saw this defense obviously last year in the postseason, but it looks like they've taken a step up, especially in the pass rush, led the league in sacks.
Yeah.
What's going to have to happen for you guys on offense to kind of manage that?
Well, I mean, they're built the right way. You got the guys up front. I think somebody yesterday in here mentioned up front with the combination of cover players that are top notch, and that bodes well to build a great defense. And I think Coach Joseph is one of the best there is out there, and does a great job of scheming things up, and they make it awfully hard for an offense to move the football.
John, have you seen Josh? When you think about the quarterback who started against Houston, his first playoff start, maturing into the guy who was efficient, composed on Sunday. How have you seen him learn how to manage the emotions and the pressures and the responsibilities that come with being that guy this time of year?
Well, I believe it starts with experience. When you go through, we've been through a number of playoff games, different venues, what have you. It's, you kind of, I don't want to say get used to it, but there's a certain level of poise you build and composure from the experiences you go through. And then his process this time of year is as good as anybody's out there. And it's, we were where we were last week, and we turned the page, and now we're focused on all of our process this week. And we stay true to that process. And that's usually what'll set you up to give yourself a chance, at least.
Joey said it, and Bobby said it. Joey Wilson, he said that. What are your thoughts in regards to how he played last weekend and how much he needs to step this game in Denver? Yeah, we're going to need everyone. I mean, that's the short answer, and the simple truth. We're going to need everyone. It's a great team, number one seed in the AFC, and they've earned that. So we're at their place. It's that type of game, and you've got to be able to do your 111th at a very high level. If we don't make the adjustments this week and the improvements we need to make, it's going to be really hard, awfully hard on us for us to get a win out there. I mean, they're just that good. So, we've got a hill to climb in front of us here.
Denver's defense is really good in the red zone. What makes a defense excel inside?
Well, the space, obviously shortens down there. But when you've got speed and pass rushers, that's a pretty good combination. And those pass rushers they're longer type of guys and twitchy at the same time. So, like I said before, the roster speaks for itself, and the way that they play also is extremely impressive.
How much different is the quarterback from the guy you saw last year?
Improved, definitely improved. He was good last year. I mean, it's hard to be good as a rookie. Very few are. He was one of what I thought was one of the few that I've been around that has, you could qualify as good as rookie year. And obviously they made the playoffs last year, and then what he's been able to do this year and the way that they've developed him. And, Coach Payton's got a history of doing that with quarterbacks. So, he's definitely playing high level football.
Like it's a little different to go on the road and try and win a playoff game than when you've been at home. Was it something that you feel like they embraced?
Probably a better question for them. We're just focused really on trying to play our best football, and these guys work hard at it, take a lot of pride in it. But I would say overall, they just like playing football together. They're a connected group, and they like playing football together. And I think that's the key is they like being around each other. And with that, you go on the road, and it's honestly, you get on the road and you stay in a hotel for a few hours and you get up and you play. So I'm not sure if it's as much that as it is, they take pride in what they do.
How much importance or Matt does altitude matter? I know we talked about what you can do, but are you a believer that it's a big thing, just something to think about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a believer that it's real. So you hear a lot of different things about it, but at the end of the day, we've got to manage it in order to play a winning level of football for ourselves.
Mike Tomlin resigned today.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that?
Oh man, what a career, right? For me, first getting introduced to Mike on campus at William & Mary years ago, he was a role model, trailblazer for me in terms of he was one of the captains on our team, and yet a really good football player, and then also a great person who attended FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, stood in the middle of the practice and in the all up at the end. And I remember Mike announcing that there was Fellowship of Christian Athletes that night to all the freshmen, and I was a freshman at the time. So he was just at that point, you could tell he was going to do great things in his career and his life, and that's what he's done. So true honor and pleasure to be around him. All right, thank you.
There's Sean McDermott speaking to the media in Orchard Park in advance of Saturday's playoff game, the divisional round there in Denver, and we got to it just a few seconds after he began talking. If you want a headline from that press conference, it is that Tyrell Shavers, to go along with the torn ACL you have from Gabe Davis, also tearing his ACL in the game against the Jags on Sunday. The difference being Shavers played through it. He stayed on the field.
He played 22 snaps in the second half on a torn ACL. That's like Jack Youngblood, broken leg, playing the Super Bowl for the Rams sort of thing. Are you kidding? Are you kidding?
But if there's an issue there with that news, your two best run-blocking wide receivers and a guy who you depend on for special teams are both going to be out for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Tough. All right, we got to take a break. We have a lot to react to there from what we heard from Sean McDermott as he speaks to the media, as he spoke to the media this afternoon, a little bit later than he normally does, and a day earlier than he normally does, with everything being pushed up a day, with the game being on a Saturday. So we'll react to that. We have more on the way in time for your calls as well at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening. Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Fan, Rochester.
Amerks head coach Mike Leone scheduled to join us next hour, 4:25. We'll also talk some Buffalo Bills with Michael F. Florio from NFL Network before we get to happy hour at 5. And, of course, we have time for your calls throughout the course of the afternoon. You can join us at 866-4326. 585-866-4FAN as we welcome you back into the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Matthew and Henrietta. Hey, Matthew, what's up, bud?
Hey, Happy New Year. I just have a quick question. I'm not sure if there's an official stat, but it seems like the Buffalo Bills defensive line, the linebacker level, are tipping a lot of passes that the quarterbacks of the opposing team are throwing if they're not able to get to the quarterback, which are leading to important third down stops or crucial turnovers. And I was just curious as to if they do have an official stat, because those are just as important as having a sack for a loss or for, you know what I mean? Like, It seems like it's been happening over the last 8 weeks. I think they're being coached very well, and it seems like they're playing with a lot more energy than they did the first half of the season. I just wanted to know your thoughts about that.
Yeah, and thanks, Matthew, for the call. The only thing I could dig up here on the fly are just by team. So I can't break it down by line or if this was a safety coming up or whatever. But in tip passes, that just counts as the NFL stat is passes defensed. The team that actually led the NFL in that stat was Jacksonville with 107. Take a guess where Buffalo ranked in terms of passes defensed in the NFL this year.
I'm going to say mid-pack because I really don't know.
25th.
Yeah.
62. And I think part of the reason is, well, the Bills are giving up yards. It was coming on the ground.
Right.
So there wasn't much going in the air against them. What matters is what you saw in Jacksonville, what you saw from Tre'Davious White, what you saw from Deion Walker. And Deion Walker, TJ Sanders. These kids are,
Yeah, you mentioned Walker. I mean, that was exactly where I was going to go. I mean, if you want to say that the Bills can't get the quarterback down, that's a problem. You know that they're a well-coached team because if they can't get the quarterback down, everybody that's there, it's a fundamental at this point. Get your hands up. Get a paw up. Try and defend that pass. Try to tip that ball. Try to affect the quarterback in any way you can if you can't bring him down. Walker in the middle is such a mountain of a human being. He's been able to do that a lot, but you've also seen Epineza through his career is really good at that. Epineza is not a big sack number guy, but Epineza is somebody who has been able to affect the quarterback as they're trying to throw the football. And I guess I'm a little surprised that they're 25th. But your point is accurate that if you're a team trying to move the ball on the Buffalo Bills and you have the means of running it, that's where you're making hay more than pass. You're not going to test the best pass defense in the league if you have success running the football.
The two players that led the league in pass defense from a defensive line standpoint, good player we don't talk about because we really don't talk Carolina, Derek Brown and Jalen Carter. And Jalen Carter didn't play the full year. Both had 7 this past year. Cam Hayward right in the mix along with Max Crosby at 8 or 6. There really isn't anybody on the Bills list. A.J. Epineza actually led the Bills with 4 on the defensive line.
Okay, so my eyes weren't deceiving me. He feels like the player that is the best at it. But with Walker in the middle, if you can affect Bo Nix, that pressure up the middle, I think that's why Ed Oliver returning to practice is a big deal. If he's made I don't know that he's made active, but even if he can get 20 snaps.
That's it. And you test it out, and if it doesn't work, okay. Like, would you rather, and forgive me who came up with this point, but TJ Sanders can play end. So you can have Sanders move either place there. So go with 5 defensive tackles in this game. Now, the question is, we don't want to bury the lead, and we will talk about this, that right now it's a 5-alarm fire in the wide receiving core for the Buffalo Bills. Gabe Davis, torn ACL, and now we find out today that in the second half, Tyrell Shavers was playing with a torn ACL. He's out for the season. So we were thinking, okay, Hardman will go up and be the 5th receiver. Danger, now you need to bring 2 other guys. Is it Gonsell? Are you bringing back Curtis Samuel? Because all of a sudden, Curtis Samuel, hey, he's ready to come off of IR here today, and his practice window has
Well,
been
Nate
activated.
mentioned it yesterday when he joined us. Nate Geary stopped by yesterday afternoon and said that the Bills, and I don't know if this is exclusive to the Bills, but they kind of use IR as almost like a second roster. Like, you're hurt, we're not going to rush you back. We can get by without you. Just be ready to go when we need you. And it sounds like that's kind of how they're approaching this Curtis Samuel situation. Now that he's been activated again, or not activated, but rather his window to practice, to return to practice, is open. And they have 21 days now to determine whether or not they want to activate him. I would guess that they would probably make him active for this weekend's game because you're going to need wide receivers. You're running a little bit thin with no Gabe Davis, and now, as we learned a few moments ago, no Tyrell Shavers for the rest of the season. Yikes. We take a quick break here. We'll come back. Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, is going to stop by the sports bar here right around 4:25. We'll dive in a little bit into what we heard from Coach McDermott in his press conference just a few moments ago. And, of course, today's big story, Mike Tomlin stepping down as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers after 19 winning seasons. The Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for just their fourth head coach since the 70s. Crazy.
That's nuts.
We'll get to that and more of your phone calls as well if you want to pull up a stool like Matthew and Henrietta did. 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger. Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Two big developments to come out in football this afternoon, one in Pittsburgh, one in Buffalo. First, in Pittsburgh, after 19 years, Mike Tomlin is out as the head coach of the Steelers. He resigns. To Buffalo, more bad news on the injury front for the Bills. Wide receiver Tyrell Shavers has a torn ACL. Shavers is out for the season. Head coach Sean McDermott, I'm prepping for the thin air of Denver.
We'll deal with it, like we deal with other things at different stadiums, different geographic locations. So, we've got to make sure we do our due diligence and prepare, and that'll be a piece of it. At the end of the day, we got to make sure we're executing at the highest level.
The Bills a 1-point favorite. Amerks back home tomorrow night against Syracuse. Head coach Mike Leone joins us later this hour to avoid the Bills game. The Nighthawks have changed their game time coming up Saturday night against Toronto. Face off now for 8 p.m. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amerks. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Welcome back into the Sports Bar. Glad you're with us this afternoon. Thanks for tuning in at 95.7 FM, AM 950, The Fan Rochester on YouTube and Twitch. You can subscribe to our channels there. And if you're driving around, listening mobile, we appreciate you checking out the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn. You can listen to us in all three. We're too big a station for just one app, so you get us everywhere. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia. Gino, the Bills have 3 healthy wide receivers on their active roster right now.
How many? 3?
3. One was benched 4 times this year. One joined the team just 6 weeks ago, and the other is Khalil Shakir. I'm saying I know that it might feel like the sky is falling. Tyrell Shavers tore his ACL in the Jacksonville game. He played on a torn ACL, immediate legend status with the Buffalo Bills.
Tonight, I know you're a big RBTL guy. Spam-A-Lot starts. It's just a flesh wound. I'll be playing. Whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Big James Cook game. Big James Cook game. Has to be, right? I mean, look, the 3 receivers that I'm talking about, Shakir, Cooks, and Coleman, I think, you want to see all 3 of them contribute. We also need more out of Dalton Kincaid. We didn't see a lot of, he gets a touchdown against Jacksonville, but I think, compared to how we've seen him get fed in certain games this season, I'm not as nervous about the Shavers and Gabe Davis injuries. To me, are going to be more about their ability to run block. I mean, you're losing your 2 best run blockers.
Yes.
So the offensive line has to carry a little bit more if you want to get James cooking on Saturday.
Cook's longest run against Jacksonville, 11 yards, and who's leading the way in terms of the block? It's Shavers. Like, how many times have you seen him? And granted, a lot of times it kind of blows up for other reasons, but, hey, the screen to Shakir, it Shavers out in front, and I don't know if you have that sort of wide receiver. Interesting that Curtis Samuel, I think the one play he did make in his time in Buffalo, it was a nifty cut, right? It was a playoff game last year against Denver. So, if anything, he's a pro Danger that could go in and kind of at least know where he's got to be. I always think that they try to use Samuel as a gadget player, a little too cute. Don't do that this game. But if you're Denver, you sell out against James Cook. You make these receivers beat you, right? I think it's pretty simple.
No, you're making Josh Allen beat you, which makes it a little bit more challenging. Because if we learned anything from Allen's performance on Sunday, it's that he will kill you by a million paper cuts. He'll find, even if it's Shakir for 4, it doesn't matter. He'll move the ball. He'll take what the defense gives him.
Well, Denver is compared to Jacksonville. Even though Allen did all that and there wasn't a Bills turnover from Josh Allen, there was still a chance for Jacksonville to tie that game. If you make the other kick, you could. Jacksonville, to me, the Bills won that game certainly, but you're Jacksonville, and okay, these are the plays we didn't make, and next time around we make these plays, maybe we win a game like that. Like, will Denver make mistakes? What's this going to come down to? You need your defense. You're going to need your defense here this game, and if you're this game, you're going to need them in the AFC Championship game. And then the positive danger, from what I saw, yes, they gave up 24 points to Jacksonville, but that looked like a defense that can maybe make enough plays to get by Denver too.
This has you rattled. The Shavers news has you rattled. I can tell.
Well,
you're less confident about this team knowing that Shavers and Davis are both going to be missing.
How can you trust a 4 and a 5 going in here? Hardman and Samuel, Gonzo. They signed Christian Wilkerson.
Yeah, you're not going to see Wilkerson or Gonzo, but I Samuel.
It'll be Samuel and Hardman.
I mean, it's kind of why you have them, right? And this is an opportunity. Next man up, right? They say it all the time. Next man up, and I would anticipate a big James Cook game. And if you got those guys, if you got a little bit more speed out there with Hardman and with Samuel, maybe a few exotic looks, a few exotic plays. Maybe they get a little cute. Maybe this is the time where you see Joe Brady get into his bag a little bit, get a little cute, and use some of the speed that'll be on the field because you have to adjust. You have to adjust to the idea that two of your better, more physical wide receivers aren't going to be available to you come Saturday afternoon. That's tough.
And any other day, I don't want to joke about this because you don't want to joke about an injury, but Sean McDermott loves Tyrell Shavers. Definition of consistency when I look it up in the dictionary. When we talk about the truth window, he's delivered some really good quotes over the years.
I like Shavers, and I think he's a great story, but he's a practice squad player on most rosters. Special teamer at best. I mean, he's an ace at special teams.
He is just as good as Matt Collins was last year in the block, right? So in special teams.
Mm-hmm.
So he's your fifth wide receiver. Or if you run with 5, he's your 6.
Mm-hmm.
I think any team, he's right on that edge. And the funny thing is, if we go back to go back to camp, this is the first year he actually made the roster, right? Every year he was like one of those cuts at the end. So to your point, you're putting in guys with more experience in this league that have done it on a bigger stage. I mean, Hardman in the Super Bowl.
Right. I'm trying to figure out, I saw it cross my feed, the actual number of catches that were made between the guys that are out, whether you're talking about, we can't forget Palmer. It's also on IR. He's gone too. A combined 27 catches this season between Gabe, Shavers, and Palmer. So what you're missing isn't really the production, the offensive production, but what you're missing is that physicality and the ability to block in the run game. And so when you've got a little bit more speed, maybe the offense looks just a little bit different, with the exception of the Bills' ability to run the football with James Cook.
And you have, well, I can't say too healthy because Kincaid hasn't been right, but when he's there on game day, he's just fine. He's going to be one of these, okay, we're not really going to practice him all that much, but between Kincaid and Knox, run the ball. I mean, it's just going to be kind of a very simple game plan, right? Run, play action.
The injury report doesn't mean anything to me because if they're good to go, they're going to be out there. Wrap them in bubble wrap. I don't care. Like, don't let them take don't let anything happen to them in practice. This is just a walkthrough today, but if Josh Allen is sore after the game, yeah, I imagine he probably is. Let's take it easy and make sure that come Saturday, the guys that are feeling it, and all of them are feeling it, but, Josh Allen, I'm sure James Cook has some bumps and bruises as well that he'd like to nurse up. Take it easy this week and get ready to go and get ready to be physical. You're going to have to be real physical against Denver, and it would be my thought that the physicality in the run game is the thing that's going to propel Buffalo's offense against that Denver pass rush. Don't let them get to you with the pass rush. Could swing the game wildly. And speaking of wild game swings, well, last night we found out that the Houston Texans will be traveling to Foxborough in the divisional round. It was close, but it wasn't really close.
It was gross. Like, both quarterbacks making mistakes. You're watching that and thinking, all right, these don't look like quarterbacks that are ready to go up against Josh Allen. And, it was the 42-year-old just giving the ball away at the end. But
it was such a Steeler script. It just felt like a perfect Steeler script. We're going to hang around. It's going to be ugly. You're going to make mistakes. We're going to force you into some mistakes.
And they did.
And-
But what was the flaw there? It was the flaw that your offense was just handing the ball right over to them. And where Pittsburgh was getting the takeaways, Houston was getting the scoop and scores and pick sixes and other goodies there. And what was, you look at the end of okay, that's a blowout, which leads us to today's news. I mean, we could shelve the Houston Texans for another day. That's going to be a doozy for New England and maybe Buffalo in the AFC Championship game, or Denver. Tomlin out. Mike Tomlin is out. And my read on this is, all right, you're doing this a mere 15 hours following a loss. Okay, emotions are still running very, very high. It just tells me that Tomlin had made the decision weeks ago, months ago, however it was, that this was going to be his final season. When Baltimore, that was much different. You're out, Harbaugh. We're done. You can't get along. You're out. We're seeing the quarterback. We're picking a side here. For Pittsburgh, this is a reset button. And I say it's mixed emotions because the guy did give you good football. He's going to go out with this on his resume. Ready? 19 seasons, never under 500. No one's ever going to touch that again. But that's not how you're judged in this league. You're judged on championships. You're judged secondarily on playoff wins. They haven't had a playoff win since Sean McDermott's first playoff game. Same weekend, 10-3. Bills lose to Jacksonville. Pittsburgh over Miami that game.
Oh, yeah.
And that's, Matt Moore, quarterback. That's an easy win for the Steelers. And then the Steelers get thrashed by Jacksonville the following week. And since then, hasn't been a playoff win. So I don't know if it was one of those, Mike, maybe we should make a change. But to me, once Mike Tomlin's out, he's going to realize, man, life is really good, and it's fun when you can kind of just do your own thing.
I agree. I've seen reports, too, that Fox is offering him somewhere in the ballpark of $25 million. He had $50 million remaining on his contract with the Steelers, so he was set to make $25 million to coach the Steelers. If you've got a TV partner that wants to pay you that to be an analyst in studio or in the booth, yeah, I think you would take that stress over the stress of being a head football coach.
You can write to us on X, the Fan Rochester is our handle. You can leave us a comment in the YouTube section, or if you know our numbers, you're certainly always welcome to reach out. As Coach Andre Fontenette reaching out.
Here's one of our guys.
Now, last I saw Andre, we were doing a game out of Rockport together, and he's like, I hate watching his own team. Like, what we need is the number one overall pick. And congratulations, the Raiders have the number one overall pick. Says Andre, Raiders need to hire Mike Tomlin tomorrow without an interview.
Not happening. I mean, yes, of course. I think the Raiders would take Harbaugh. They would take Tomlin. They would take any of those guys. But when you're Harbaugh or you're Tomlin, even Kevin Stefanski, you have options. Yeah. You have options, and the Raiders are not the most attractive option this cycle.
Even with the number one overall pick.
Yeah. I would almost say, especially with the number one overall pick, you can't F that up.
They have Bowers. I think Gentry's good. You really don't have anything on defense other than Crosby. Like, there's still a lot of work to be done.
A lot of work to build out that roster and make it competitive. Yeah, Tomlin, I think Tomlin will follow the suit with Cowher and Knoll and just say, you know what? They don't fire coaches in Pittsburgh, but they take their will to coach away from them by the time they leave. Cowher never went back to coaching. I don't think Tomlin's going back to coaching either.
Well, is there something to be said that when as soon as I'm saying this, I find the contradictory argument in mind. Once you coach an NFL franchise, the status of the Steelers, and don't get offended, like, all right, Arizona Cardinals compared to the Pittsburgh Steelers much more respected in the league. And I think of, all right, teams like the New York Giants. Well, heck, Bill Parcells ended up as the head coach of the Jets because he loved it so much. He had to get back in. So I think that probably once Cowher got out, yes, he flirted with the Buffalo Bills for a little bit, but that's how Chan Gailey got hired. Tomlin will have his name in the news cycle, certainly. Tomlin, what college wouldn't want to just at least interview him? What NFL team? But and maybe this goes to next year, Danger, when, hey, team is going out, let's bring in Mike Tomlin. ultimately, he's a coach that went 9 seasons without winning a playoff game. That's way too long.
Yeah. But, man, 19 years and a Super Bowl under his belt, 2 Super Bowl appearances, right? Multiple Super Bowl appearances, 1 title, the Steelers' 6th in that classic in the desert against Arizona. Pretty cool. They got routed last night, 36 the final there as the Texans advance to the divisional round, and they will take on New England in Foxborough. This is the 3rd consecutive year that the Texans find themselves in the divisional round. So this is not new territory for DeMeco Ryans and his team. Kevin Stefanski interviewing with the Dolphins today. Brian Daboll interviewing with the Titans later this week, Friday. Daboll will take his interview. Greg Roman out as OC. Patullo out as OC in Philadelphia. We learned this afternoon. The Buccaneers will be interviewing Mike Kafka, Todd Monken for their vacant offensive coordinator opening. And late last night, if you didn't stay with it, we learned the schedule for this weekend. Saturday, it will be the Bills and Broncos to kick us off on divisional weekend, 4:30 on CBS. Then you'll have the Seahawks and Niners in prime time on Fox, 8 o'clock kickoff. Sunday, Texans, Patriots, 3 o'clock. And then the Rams and Bears rounded out, 6:30 on NBC.
News from the Vikings today.
It's not good news.
No.
They have a decision to make on their hands here. They got a real...
Well, maybe the NFL will make the decision for them. This is another brush with the law for receiver Jordan Addison. And no, he wasn't driving 140 this time, but he was arrested, they say, early Monday morning into Tuesday. This is while you were sleeping. This down in Tampa, and the story is he was arrested at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. Everybody knows if you go there where that is, right? This at 3:46 in the morning. Charged with trespass of an occupied structure or conveyance of first-degree misdemeanor. What was he trying to get into somebody else's room? Did he not know where he was? 3:46 in the morning there.
Right. Well, it's a casino, so it's 24/7. And my guess is he was probably told to leave, and he wouldn't leave. So
you were trespassing. Yeah.
One quick note too.
One thing about casinos too. You know what they all have?
Cameras.
That's right.
Everywhere.
That's right. Can't wait to see the footage of whatever this is.
One more note on the Texans who advanced to take on the Patriots, and we'll see that in the early window on ESPN Sunday afternoon. And I hate this stat because I think this weekend I'm going to be rooting for the Patriots as far as the Bills are concerned. I just think the Patriots are a better matchup. I hate that I'd be rooting for New England.
No, Danger. I don't. Who's going to make the argument the other way? And if you're a Patriot fan, like, oh, yeah, disrespect. Have you seen Houston's defense? Like, you should be concerned about Houston's defense going into New England.
The Texans' defense faced a top 10 scoring offense 8 times this season. The Patriots' offense faced a top 10 scoring defense 0 times this season. Now, I know a lot can be made of your resume from the season, and the postseason is a different animal. But I just saw that. I'm like, I don't know that the Patriots exactly know what they're about to face in that defense.
The best thing for the Patriots to do, win a game like Pittsburgh should have won, ugly it up, make Stroud look bad. That's the saving grace if you're facing Houston, because I don't know what's happened to C.J. Stroud. He doesn't look comfortable when it gets very skittish and careless with the football. But Houston's defense, Seattle will remind everybody coming up on Saturday night, like what their defense is all about.
Should be fun. We'll have action for you on Sunday. Lots of action on Sunday. I mean, what do we have? Is it this is Sunday that we're going?
No, that's Saturday. Saturday. So the Bills, Bills on Saturday.
That's right.
But because the Amerks are playing at night and the Sabres are in the afternoon, so the Bills game in its entirety, as always, on 96.5 WCMF. We will have the Sabres against Minnesota at 12:30, and the Sabres are worth paying attention to these days, which that's good for the Sabres that timed out. Going to the Bills pregame, and then we will go to the Amerks who are playing at night. By the way, one of our local teams did the smart thing and actually moved the game time. So the Nighthawk game against Toronto has been pushed back by an hour. Face-off now at Blue Cross Arena coming up Saturday night will be at 8 o'clock. So that's good because, all right, 4:30, barring overtime, yeah, you should be done by that point. So if you're a Nighthawk fan and was worried about missing the game, you don't have to worry about that now.
We'll talk to Rochester Nighthawk Ryan Smith tomorrow afternoon in the sports bar. We'll get you set for another weekend of Nighthawks lacrosse. Big win on Saturday over Buffalo, too. We didn't spend any time talking about that, but we'll get Ryan's take on what that win means for this Nighthawk squad. Speaking of local sports, the Rochester Americans are back. Mike Leone joining us next. We'll get a state of the team here on the Fan Rochester next.
You're listening to the Rochester Sports Update.
Big news out of Pittsburgh today. After 19 years, Mike Tomlin is out as head coach. He resigns. More bad news for the Buffalo Bills on the injury front. Today we learned that wide receiver Tyrell Shavers has a torn ACL. He's out for the season. He played 22 snaps in the second half on a torn ACL. Sean McDermott talking about the Denver Broncos.
They've got a great team, all three phases, very well-coached team, and I have a lot of respect for Coach Payton, and he's done it at a high level, Super Bowl winning coach. So, we're going to go out there and have to make sure we're rested, through the week as we try and prepare as well on the short week here. And, we're going to have to play better than we did this past weekend in order to win.
Amherst back home tomorrow night against Syracuse. Head coach Mike Leone joins us next. The Nighthawks have changed their game time to accommodate Bills fans. They game against Toronto Saturday night at 8 o'clock. Team Tackling the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Center ice, where it's recovered by Rathbone. Turns forward and over the blue line, works wide to the left side, brings it in, takes a shot, scores! Rathbone, oh man, just 13 seconds into overtime, picks the upper corner wide side. Rathbone puts it away, and the Amherst come out on top, 6-5. Oh man, as the Amherst pull this one out of there, you know what? And come away with the victory here in this one.
The Hall of Famer Don Stevens with the call from Sunday afternoon as the Amherst escape Belleville with the 6-5 overtime win, and we welcome in head coach Mike Leone. And Coach, I want to talk about Sunday, but I also want to go back to our last home game that we had here Friday against Laval, and Laval's a team that everybody's looking up at. You've spent a lot of time here with us talking about the importance of the second period in these hockey games, and my guess is from Friday night, yes, you were not pleased, I would guess, with the second period performance against Laval.
If you watch the game, we outshot them 19-6. I wouldn't say it was a bad second period. I think it was a bad 2 minutes of the second period. One of them was a penalty kill goal. A couple, I wouldn't say, they executed at a really high level, and that's what they do sometimes. But when you look at the game total, we outshot them 51-22. Usually when you play games like that, the expected goals were, almost 5.5 to 2. You should probably win those games. I thought it was probably one of the best games we played all year, especially given our opponent. We gave them a few chances, but I would say the second period was probably, if anybody watched the game, it was probably one of our, if you check the box score, it probably doesn't look good, but when you actually watch the game and the things we did, anytime you get 19 shots in a period against a team like that, you do really good things. And, we had 3 breakaways. We had a breakaway at the end of the second period to make it 3-2. Their goalie was, there's a reason why he went to the Calder Cup championship with Charlotte. He's, if not the best, top 3 goalie in our league, and he, sometimes you just tip your cap. He was really good that night.
Yeah, we're talking to head coach Mike Leone. Amherst back home Wednesday night against Syracuse. I don't know if you're looking at the glass half full or half empty after the game against Belleville, Coach, where Belleville, massive rally to force overtime. But you guys, as we heard the call from Don Stevens, your thoughts on getting a wild 6-5 win north of the border on Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, we probably played as good as you could play. In the third period, I don't think we gave up any shots to the 10-minute mark. And, we took a penalty. They scored. Again, some of the goals, Kaliev goals probably goes in on any, the Thompson, the first one, he takes a slap shot, hits the elbow from, not a scoring opportunity. Kaliev, the same thing. It was just one of those things. I haven't been part of too many games like that. Kaliev is, the best goal scorer in the league. That would have went in and probably any goalie in the NHL, and they executed in a few plays. But, at the end of the day, you find a way to get a win on the road. I thought we played, that's 3 games in a row. We're playing pretty good hockey right now with a lot of guys out and guys stepping up. And, kind of found our identity, what it's going to have to be with the group that we have. And guys did a really good job. Bones made a really good play in overtime, kind of won a battle, goes in, great shot. We probably should have won in regulation for sure. But 2 points is 2 points, and it's on the road. And I think that was our 12th road win. We've been a really good road team, since I've been here. And guys did a great job. We've had a really tough schedule. We got Syracuse coming in, then we got 3 and 4. But winning on the road was good. Guys, we kept our poise and composure. It's easy to kind of, when things like that happen in the game, I thought we took a big step as a group, and now just be ready to go on Wednesday.
You mentioned it. It's Syracuse at home on Wednesday. We just saw them last Wednesday with a 3-2 win over the Crunch. They're going to be coming in hot, looking for revenge. Give us a little preview of what we can expect here coming up tomorrow night at the arena.
Yeah, anytime you play Syracuse, it's a really tight checking game. Like I said, they're really well coached. They're a really good team. I think we're 3 or 4-2 against them this year. Last year we had a lot of success. We've been really good at their building, and we got one game left in the segment. We need a point. Hopefully we can get 2 points. And but anytime you play them, there's not a lot of time and space. They defend really well. You're not going to get line rushes. You really got to manage the game. It's almost like playing, what Buffalo ran into yesterday. You're not going to get odd man rushes. You can't play one-on-one hockey, and you're going to have to manage the puck. And if you do that, you have a chance. If you want to open it up and try to play a skill game, you're probably not going to have much luck. So guys have really done a good job when we've played them this year. Even the games we've lost, we've been really good against them. So hopefully we do the same tomorrow.
Yeah, one player that has really stepped up nicely, not just this year, but coming on at the late last year. Riley Fiedler-Schultz, 10 points in 10 games. You love that clip, but Coach, beginning last year, he wasn't getting in the lineup there. So this is kind of like your example of, hey, keep working and keep your hat up, and your time will come. Talk about Fiedler-Schultz and how he's kind of developed for you guys.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you guys brought him up. I think a lot of times people, they see the first, the second round picks, but talk about a kid that does it right every single day. He has great habits. I'm a firm believer your habits and your choices that you make every day is ultimately what your character is. And he could have easily went the wrong way. He showed up every day, earned an NHL contract, and played for us basically on our fourth line in playoffs with Dunner and Cozy, which is a really good line. Now, given the centers we have out, guys out of the lineup, he's basically taken over the second line center role. And probably the craziest part about it, he didn't play center last year. And it's not like playing center at the junior level or playing in college, like to go from playing winger to playing center at the pro level and being asked not to play bottom in the lineup, but play, second line minutes and also produce how he's producing. But he does so many things that, he wins battles. He's on the right side of the puck. He's just a winning hockey player. And, we're not at where we're at right now without, sure, everybody sees the Consta and the Rosies and, Wahlbergs, and those guys have been great, but we're not here where we're at. We have 25 goals from Kuntar, Joshua, and Fiedler-Schultz, and all 4 of them were, fourth-line players last year, and 2 of them didn't play in the playoffs, and Fiedler-Schultz was a great energy piece, but now those guys, I don't know what other line in the league has 25 goals from the third line, and those guys, a credit to them, they work. They're probably the best forechecking line in the league. I play them against everybody else's top line, and hats off to them. But if you see what they do every day and how hard they practice and how hard they work, it's a credit to them. Kuntar's another example, earns an NHL contract, didn't play in playoffs last year, basically, rode him out of town and in the Boston organization, and he's been fantastic for us. Same with Jags. He's those guys have been great, and we're not where we're at right now with a close to a 600 winning percentage without those guys.
Amerks head coach Michael Leone joining us in the sports bar talking about the Rochester Amerks, who are home tomorrow night against the Syracuse Crunch at Blue Cross Arena. But you mentioned it, Mike, 3 games in 4 days coming up this weekend, all on the road. Belleville, Utica, Syracuse on the holiday. So it's a long holiday weekend, but that's a lot of hockey crammed into 4 days. How do you manage through that? What do you do to prepare your team for that grind that you're going to face here this holiday weekend?
Yeah, we do a good job with our sports science department. I look at the numbers from practice. I think it's still really important. We had a 45-minute skate today. I think a lot of people sometimes think, we got to hold back. We really push our guys, to really manage. We want to have, a lot of people think you practice 15, 20 minutes and then you go into the games, but it's a complete opposite when you look at the numbers. You got to really go after them, maybe, 30, 35 minutes, but high-intensity drills, not at the board, to kind of simulate a game situation. And, sometimes those games we just got to make sure, that last game, and it's all about, it's a battle of wills. They're going through the same thing, Syracuse, so no one's really at an advantage. They're going through the same thing. It's just, playing not a safe game, but patient. You can't give teams anything. And like I said, we've been a really good road team. We play really well on the road. We've been, really good in first periods this year. I think our second periods are starting to get better, which is a good sign for our group. And, yeah, it's tough schedule for sure. Everybody's going through it, NHL, AHL, and you just got to manage it. There's going to be a lot of guys out of, the lineup like Syracuse, opposite of us, where a lot of our forwards have been out. Their 4 best defensemen are playing for, just had a 10-game winning streak for the Lightning. So everybody goes through it. You just don't use it as an excuse. Play the guys that you have, and if you play hard, you got a chance.
Coach, well, last one for me, and a player that kind of joined your team midway through last year, but I like him. I like him as an Amerk, Jagger Joshua, who was selected to be part of the Player Inclusion Coalition. This was up in Toronto, and certainly that's great to grow the game of hockey. Give us kind of an idea what he brings to your team.
Yeah, no, you guys are bringing up the heart and soul guys. Like, these guys are incredible. Like Jags, I'm really close with it. Jags and I are from the same hometown. He played for a really good friend of mine that is doing a great job at Michigan State. And, Jags has had a tough upbringing. A lot of people don't know what that kid's gone through. And, we believe in him. He plays a heavy game. He's really good below the circles. He brings an element of physicality. He's also got some skill around the net. His ability, he's probably never played on the power play since he was U18. He's been on our first power play right now because he's really good at the net front. He's really good at the walls. And, Jags is a great kid. And he's, there's a lot of stuff that people don't see. He's, people like being around Jags. He's a great team guy. He's a life in the room. And, he's kind of like him feeds those guys who bring so much energy every day. And, we're working on him with him. There's areas of his game, like he's playing more minutes now, so he needs to have a little bigger gas tank. You go from playing 10, 11 minutes to 18 minutes every night, back to back. It's difficult. So you got to make sure you're taking care of yourself, taking care of your body away from the rink. And those guys have, really for me, those guys are the MVPs of the team. I mean, not like I said, I don't know how many other third lines have 25 goals as a group, and every night they show up and they bring us, and they're an identity piece to a group. And with that being said, they'll have to continue to be good. It doesn't seem or look like we're going to get any guys back soon. So this is our group, and guys will have to keep stepping up.
Mike, by the time we talk to you next week at this time, we'll have a lot of hockey to recap. Best of luck tomorrow night with Syracuse at Blue Cross Arena.
Oh, I want to thank you, Coach, too, because we're kind of getting Monday off because you guys are playing there. We'll be on a little late, I should say, Monday there. So
nice.
Yeah,
you guys better watch that.
Oh, well, I'll be paying attention.
Oh,
Coach.
yeah, we'll have you on.
You got me on that one, but I'll get you on the next one.
No, not box score watch. I mean, watch.
I know. Yeah, you got me on that one. I'll get you on the next one, Coach. You can call me out. I
You
got
know what
it.
I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you, buddy.
Oh, I tell the truth. It's black and it's white with me.
That's why
You know
we
what I'm
love
saying?
you, Coach. That's why we love having you
Yeah.
on every week. We'll go beyond the box
Hey,
score.
no, I don't want the box score checks. I want you guys to dissect plays that happened in the second period.
All right.
So then you guys can help me out coach the team.
You don't need our help coaching the team. Come on.
No, I want to see what you guys see in the second period.
All right, we're paying attention.
Okay. All right. You guys have a good one.
All right,
Take
thanks,
care.
Coach.
There's Mike Leone, Amherst head coach. He didn't like that loss to Laval. We certainly didn't like looking at the box score and seeing that Laval outscored them in a period where
They outshot
them significantly. Hey, I'm guilty. I wasn't at the game.
Yeah. Friday night I was calling RIT hockey. So, hey, you'd rather have a head coach that says, yeah.
He is.
know,
He's
like-
black and white.
Yeah.
I respect the hell out of that guy. Absolutely. All right, Gino. So we're paying attention on Martin Luther King.
Maybe we'll have him on. Like, hey, Coach, let's do this a day earlier.
Michael F. Florio, NFL Network. We'll talk some Buffalo Bills. The news from Sean McDermott earlier today, not good for the Bills' wide receiving room, as is Tyrell Shavers done for the season with a torn ACL.
Michael F. Florio will join us next, and because he does the podcast with Stevie Johnson, too, like, all right, Bills, NFL Network, Bills Mafia member.
Stevie Johnson signed to the Bills practice squad.
We're not that far off.
Yeah, right?
Like, I've seen Cole Beasley suggestions on my feed. Like, where are we at? Who's healthy? Who's been working out? Put up your hand.
Duke Williams. We'll get to Michael F. Florio next on the Fan Rochester.
Is Ty Johnson available? I think that's a huge part of this game. Whoever plays Denver, you have to have your tight ends and your backs be the pass catching threats in that game. Unironically, here comes Buffalo, who that's the strength of their offense.
Dan Orlovsky earlier today on One Bills Live, bringing up a point about playing against Denver's defense, getting your backs and your tight ends involved. Well, when you have a wide receiver depth chart that's as bleak as Buffalo's is going into this game, I think you can expect a lot of James Cook, a lot of Dalton Kincaid. Whether or not they have Ty Johnson remains to be seen, but they had their walkthrough today. Heard from Sean McDermott earlier this afternoon, and we're all looking forward to Saturday afternoon as the Buffalo Bills travel to the Mile High to take on the Denver Broncos. Don't forget, happy hour on the way in just a few. We'll get to a round of shots. We'll get to more of your calls with Last Call, where you can have the final word at 585-866-4FAN. Tomorrow, Matt Perino, who wasn't able to join us today, will talk to Buffalo Bills as he covers the team for the Syracuse Post-Standard. We'll also be speaking with PJ Glasser to get his favorite plays from the divisional round of the NFL and the College Football National Championship coming up on Monday night. Ryan Smith, Rochester Nighthawk, joins us tomorrow afternoon in the sports bar as well.
Michael F. Florio, fantasy expert, NFL Network, and Bills Mafia member. How was that fourth quarter for you watching that game, Michael? How are you today?
Oh, it was, I think, for me, the same as you guys, everyone listening. It was intense. It was nerve-wracking, but at the end of the day, it was fun and it was glorious, right? Because I said it last week. I thought the Jags, matchup-wise, were the toughest team for the Bills in the AFC. And everything that the Jags do well, it fits into the Bills' strengths or weaknesses, like the way it matches up. So I was nervous going into this one, and even when they scored, just like everyone else, it was a national talking point, right? Like, did they leave them too much seconds to get Cam Little an opportunity? And then you see the ball land in Cole Bishop's hands, and you finally get to rejoice a little bit.
Mike, I know that with the news today that Shavers was playing with a torn ACL and will miss the rest of the season. You've already lost Gabe Davis, same injury. Palmer is on IR. Is too much being made of, I mean, face it, the production here is 27 catches total between those three receivers, or is it more an intangible thing where these were guys that you counted on to defend or to block in the run game and block after a catch? I mean, they're physical guys, at least with Gabe and Shavers, that are not going to be available for the rest of the postseason.
So I think the biggest thing with their absence is what you just were saying about the blocking. Later in the year, the Bills seem to really lean into having those out-wide wide receivers almost be just more downfield blockers than anything. And it was huge on some of these, like Shakir catch and runs this season and last week and others. And so they will be missed in that sense because Keon is not the same blocker as those two are. But it's not like, oh, the Bills lost Gabe Davis, now they don't have a chance of winning the Super Bowl, or the Bills lost Shavers, they don't have a chance of winning the Super Bowl. It's the fact that those two became such important pieces because the Bills are already super thin at a position that was their weakest coming into the season. Like, they were hoping that other guys would step up and they would get more production and stuff. None of that happened. It's why for every week we were playing a game of like who's going to be the inactive receiver, because outside of Shakir and I would say Brandon Cooks, it was no certainty each week of like, will this player be active? Shavers, although, was active each week. But to me, it's bad timing with all these injuries hitting at once, paired with the position just continuously being ignored now for the last two seasons. And we've all spent a lot of time talking about it, but I do think the Bills now are going to have to win in spite of a glaring weakness that has been a weakness now and flat out ignored, in my opinion.
So where do the Bills go for here? Like, are we believing that Curtis Samuel might be activated? We have to think back to what he was at the beginning of the season. Mecole Hardman, we got a little taste of him for one game. Michael, what does receiver 4 and 5 look like for this team?
I jokingly on Twitter, I know the rules don't allow it, but the most fun option would be to sign Elijah Moore from the Broncos practice squad. The good thing for the Bills, because if if I had to guess, I'm guessing Nicole Hardman is up this week, and if Curtis Samuel is good to go, he is. Otherwise, you're real thin, right? But the good thing for the Bills is that if there's ever a matchup to be thin at wide receiver, it's this one, because the Broncos excel at taking away the opposing wide receivers, right? Where they have struggled is against tight ends across the middle, which Dalton Kincaid, he is uber important now. Always has been, but even more so now. Dawson Knox, I expect to see a lot of 12 personnel. Maybe we get Hayes involved there, but Hawes, but it's like Patrick Surtain is the player on the other side that you worry the most about. What he excels at is taking away opposing teams' wide receiver one. Who is that? It's not going to be Shakir because he's going to be in the slot a lot, so he's going to be on Brandon Cooks. Okay, like if you're the Bills, yeah, Brandon Cooks has added a lot of downfield presence, but if the Broncos are dead set on taking him away, okay, like you got other options in this matchup that can win. So I kind of think it's one of those matchups where the Broncos' strength is weakened because it's not really something the Bills emphasize in their offense.
And Surtain was the player of the year defensively last year. Do they line him up in the slot? Have they ever tried that against Shakir? I'm thinking, is this the week they do something different?
So I'll have to dig more into the numbers for this season as a whole, but I know for much of the beginning of the season, for pretty much all of last season when he was the DPOY, he was playing out wide. Like, he'll bounce around side to side, he'll shadow, but he doesn't typically move into the slot a whole lot, or hasn't in the past. So maybe they view this matchup as something very unique. We did see him line up opposite of Travis Kelce when they played the Chiefs on Christmas Day, so maybe we see him. I think it's more likely we see him on Kincaid a good chunk than when Shakir's in the slot. I think if there's any play, though, where Shakir goes out wide, you will see PS2 on it.
Feels like we have playoff Josh fully activated. I mean, his performance on Sunday in Jacksonville was another classic. And against this defense, against Denver, and if they beat Denver, whoever they potentially will face, I mean, he's going to be faced with more challenges. But talk about his play and taking what the defense is giving him. We saw a couple of big plays, and certainly the pass to Cooks at the end was spectacular. But really through the majority of that game in Jacksonville, it was a lot of taking what Jacksonville was giving him.
Yeah, I talked about it on the Sick podcast yesterday with Stevie Johnson. I think that you can make a case that this is the scariest version of Josh Allen that we've ever seen. And for a long time, I thought the most dominant player that I have witnessed was 2021, 22 Josh Allen, where he was doing everything, right? Putting all the video game numbers up through the air, leading them in rushing yards and touchdowns. But what he did this past week scares me even more if I'm a DC, because with the old Josh Allen, I won't call it his Achilles heel, but his weakness was by doing so much, he would have turnovers or at least put the ball in harm's way a little bit, or maybe make a throw where you're like, okay, I'm cool with him trying to make that hard of a throw instead of taking the easy one. But that's not what the case, that wasn't the case this past weekend. He was methodical, like you said, going through his progressions, taking what the defense gave him. And to describe it as kind of like a fighter, right? Like, he was throwing jabs the whole first half and just feeling out the defense. And then in the second half, when they needed him to kind of put the cape on, because really nothing on the ground was working, he was able to do so and hit those big shots. And that throw to Cooks, I think, is one of the best of his career, considering the situation, how much time was left, and that a free rusher was literally closing in on him as he released the ball. So if he could play like that, it might not matter who the defense is on the other side, because there's a lot of great defenses left in the playoffs, but if Josh is playing like that and taking care of the ball, he had 7 incompletions, one of which was a catch overturned. The other one bounced off of Gabe Davis's chest. He was, and the only throw he made all game that I was like, ooh, that's one he would want back, was the deep one on the sideline to Brandon Cooks where he just missed him. Besides that, I think he played a near perfect game.
Yeah, we're talking to Michael F. Florio previewing Bills and Broncos. Of course, Michael F. Florio covering the entire NFL for the NFL Network in terms of fantasy. And hey, this Bronco team might be missing J.K. Dobbins. Certainly, he's on IR. But if there's one thing Jacksonville did, crazy to think that Jacksonville ran so effectively outside the tackles and the Bills couldn't run, yet didn't matter in the end. The Bills win that game. I don't think that's a recipe, though, you want to keep going on here. You want to try to stop the run. Tell us about Denver's rushing attack here with Harvey and McLaughlin. Can Buffalo stop these rushers here for Denver, Michael?
I think they have a better chance. If you remember last week, I was saying like Bashal Tootin is someone that Bills fans need to know the name. And look, thank you, Liam Cohen, for not running the ball more, especially for not giving that guy the ball more, because every time he touched the ball, it felt like he had a chance to hit a long play. But the thing about the Broncos, I think their offense is a little bit less predictable without J.K. Dobbins, because it was pretty clear, like when Dobbins was out there, they were running the ball. But when they would take him off and bring on one of the other running backs, it was more likely to throw. Now we're seeing R.J. Harvey take over and get the majority of snaps there, and he is a really excellent pass catcher. I would say he's more explosive than J.K. Dobbins, like that, just from watching him. But the stats actually say that the Broncos' rushing attack has been much better with J.K. Dobbins. Like, if you compare the stats from the running back rooms as a whole, from weeks 1 through 10 when they had J.K. Dobbins, and then week 11 on, they averaged less yards per carry, less yards before and after contact per carry, less explosive runs, and they get stuffed at a higher rate. And that's not just on carries as a whole. That's also on outside carries, which is what has gashed the Bills all year this long. So when I was saying, like, the Jags I thought were a scarier matchup, even though the Broncos might be a better team, it's because the Jags can run the ball better than the Bills can, and the Jags were excellent at stopping the run. The Broncos have become, in the second half of the season, more of a pass-first team. And if you're the Bills, you want that, because that is attacking your strength now. And Bo Nix has struggled against zone and disguise coverages at times this year, which obviously, if you're a Bills fan, that you like to hear that. But they've struggled to run the ball. And if they can't consistently eat the clock and put up chunk plays in that regard, so that's one concern with their offense there. But then on the defensive side, they're excellent against the pass. You're okay, especially against wide receivers. You're okay with that as a Bills fan because that's their weakness, but they have not been as great against the run. And if you remember back to last playoff game, the Bills' O-line, they have a huge size advantage in this one, which they did not have against Jacksonville. That size advantage, they were able to – Cook ran for $120, and Allen added in almost 50 with his legs in that game. So if they can win the battle of the line of scrimmage – at least on the offensive side, they can play their normal game, I think, and control the clock. And that's what you want to hear, I think, if you're a Bills fan going into this.
Mike, you mentioned the Sick Podcast with Stevie Johnson. What are you guys talking about? What can we check out from you here leading up to kickoff on Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, we just did a Victory Monday pod yesterday. We'll have another one live Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, breaking down everything Bills, Broncos. Stevie's in the lab watching some tape as we speak. So going to have a lot of fun on that one. And then you can catch me on the Insiders or the NFL Fantasy Football Show a couple times a week, breaking down all things playoffs. Last week I was on the show talking to Brandon Cooks. This week, not sure. I think it's going to be Kincaid, but we're 1 for 1 so far, so hopefully we stay hot.
You are the man, Michael F. Florio, NFL Network fantasy expert and Bills Mafia. Michael, have a good week. Appreciate your time, bud.
You as well. Go Bills.
Michael F. Florio. The great Michael F. Florio. Not Michael Florio, but Michael F. Florio. Not Mike Florio. Michael F. Florio. That's our Florio. Bills Mafia guy. And the Sick Podcast with Stevie Johnson. Good having him on with us. I always appreciate his insight.
See, there's somebody along, some 25-year-old named Mike Danger. He'll have to be Michael K. Danger. Or Michael
there's
M.
a couple
Danger.
of there's more than one Mike Danger out there.
What?
Well, first of all, I didn't realize this until well after the moniker was given to me. There's actually a comic book series called Mike Danger, and that one threw me for a loop. Didn't know that existed. And then I want to say that there's an EDM DJ or a Vegas DJ, Mike Danger, as well. So, yeah, there's more out there. I don't know that they're calling themselves Michael. Having had my birthday yesterday and seeing all the comments, and I appreciate and thankful for everybody who engaged. Thank you. I should go to therapy. I've got Danger. I've got Mike. I've got Chris. Just throw a name at me.
Somebody
you'll probably get one.
it gets a little confusing for your partner over here, buddy. Somebody says Chris. I'm like, Who? Who did? Oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. We got to get to happy hour, and we have time for your calls at 866-4326. Quick break, and we'll recap everything we learned from Sean McDermott's press conference earlier today, including another injury for the Buffalo Bills to monitor. Actually, we don't have to monitor it. Season-ending injury for somebody in their wide receiving room. And also, the big story of the day, Mike Tomlin, after 19 seasons, stepping down as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. This after losing to the Houston Texans at home in the wild card round last night. That and more next on The Fan.
WE9BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Big news out of Pittsburgh today. After 19 years, Mike Tomlin out as head coach of the Steelers. He resigns. More bad news on the injury front for the Buffalo Bills. They're down another receiver. Wide receiver Tyrell Shavers has a torn ACL, obviously out for the season. Shavers played 22 snaps on a torn ACL in the second half in the win over Jacksonville. It's on to Denver. Head coach Sean McDermott talking about the thin air.
We'll deal with it, like we deal with other things at different stadiums, different geographic locations. So, we've got to make sure we do our due diligence and prepare, and that'll be a piece of it. At the end of the day, we got to make sure we're executing at the highest level.
The Bills a 1-point favorite in this game Saturday at 4:30. Amherst back home tomorrow night taking on Syracuse. The Nighthawks have changed their game time to accommodate Bills fans. Nighthawks against Toronto Saturday is now at 8 p.m. Gene Battaglia on the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Happy hour in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia with you on the Fan. Thanks for listening at 95.7 FM, AM 950. Thanks for watching the stream as we're live on YouTube, our channel, The Fan Rochester, also on Twitch. It's a Tuesday that kind of feels like a Wednesday. McDermott spoke to the media today. We normally would do McDermott McLies, but we took his press conference live earlier today. I didn't hear a ton of lies, but I did just hear a doozy from 17. Earlier, 17, Josh Allen speaking to the media after the walkthrough, asked how he's feeling. I feel good. I feel better than I have the last few weeks. Lies. 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 Going crazy with the lies. He's beat up. He has to be beat up, sore. And let's hope that, the run game gets going for the Buffalo Bills against the Denver Broncos, which would make a lot of sense when you're talking about the game plan. You don't really want to test out Patrick Surtain when you got a wide receiving room that looks like Buffalo's looks like right now.
We were trying to dig it in, like, all right, you're Denver. Where do you put Surtain? And he's always been on the outside, but should Keon Coleman scare Denver? Should Brandon Cook scare Denver? The answer is no. Interesting that, pointing out that, all right, it was kind of a meaningless game, but nonetheless, Surtain was matched up on Christmas night against Travis Kelce. And, all right, were they trying something out there? Surtain against Dalton Kincaid, Surtain against Khalil Shakir. Like, that's how, all right, which one of these Bills players, if you had an opportunity to erase out of the game plan? Jacksonville, hey, they took out James Cook. If you said going into that game last week, James Cook going to have under 50 yards of rush, I'm like, well, we'll see at Fisher, everybody. It's going to be the Bills won in a different way. There's an opportunity for the Bills to run against Denver. I feel good about that. If it were a different opponent, Danger, where like Jacksonville, for instance, maybe I'd be a little bit more concerned. The things that if you're just pointing to receptions and touchdowns and yardage about Shavers and Gabe Davis for that matter, you'd be like, well, this is not a loss. No, Shavers brought a lot in the blocking game. In fact, go look at the Josh Allen 11-yard tush push. It was actually called down at the one. As Ryan Talbot has pointed out, Shavers is in there blocking on it.
Yeah, actually driving back Newsome from the Jags back a few yards with one good knee. Legendary status. I mean, playing hurt, and McDermott referenced it earlier. I mean, it's everything that they look for in a guy. I mean, he is an embodiment of what it means to be a Buffalo Bill. It's just a shame that his season cut short now with that torn ACL, and I imagine when Tyrell Shavers does recover and come back from that he'll have a spot with special teams, and we certainly know his contributions in terms of being a good blocker as a wide receiver as well. Fun stuff today from Michael F. Florio as well, who just joined us and gave us his thoughts. And I think everybody, as the week goes on here, and we'll talk tomorrow to Matt Perino, who covers the team for the Syracuse Post-Standard, hey, big James Cook game for me. I mean, like, give me a lot of James Cook. Give me a lot of Dalton Kincaid. Give me a lot of the tight ends. Give me a lot of the running back. And let's see. I mean, you might have to alter the way your offense looks because you're going to be leaning on some of your speed guys to step up. If Samuel is good to go, his practice window open today. And certainly Mecole Hardman, another guy that's on the practice squad that you've leaned on earlier this year. Maybe you see him get involved in the offense in a different way than what you would normally see.
Yeah, I mean, the only other option really on the practice squad is Gonzal, who we haven't seen since the preseason. I'm not going near that. The Bills, because they have to, bringing on the practice squad. Christian Wilkerson, we welcome him back on the practice squad.
Right.
So I'm sure they're open to suggestions right now at 866-4FAN. Who should suit up for Buffalo this week? Funny, like we've gone through this exercise seemingly every week. Okay, should they put Coleman back in? I don't know. What about this guy? What about that guy? Okay, who's healthy? You're in. That's what we're down to right now.
That's where we're at.
When you laid it out earlier like this is the Bills receiving core today. It is a wide receiver that was inactive for 6 games and got on the bad side of McDermott twice this season, 3 times in his career. It's another guy that was released in November, and it's Khalil Shakir.
Those are your healthy wide receivers right now.
Correct.
Yeah. So we'll continue to monitor through the course of the week, walk through today. So we'll get a glimpse at what that injury report looks like, and then also Ed Oliver's practice window opened up as well.
Yes, and if he is okay, if he's practicing right now, and there's no risk when you get the game action of re-aggravating anything, Danger, I don't care. Put him out there for 10 snaps. Get him a taste here. You can carve out a spot for Ed Oliver on the roster. I want to see Ed Oliver out there if he's ready. Another thing that you think Denver, January, oh my gosh, cold, snow, blowing. No, it's
nice. Weather
we would love. 59 degrees and sunshine in Denver for a 2:30 kickoff their time on Saturday.
Yeah. From last night, the Texans advance. The Steelers drop 30-6 at home. It'll be Houston taking on New England. We learned, if you couldn't stay up late, we learned the matchups. We learned the times. The Bills will start the action for the divisional weekend with the 4:30 kickoff there in Denver on CBS. The Seahawks and Niners play in primetime in Seattle on Fox. That's Saturday night at 8. Sunday, Texans-Patriots, 3 o'clock on ESPN. And then the Rams and Bears, 6:30, NBC and Peacock. That will be the finale for the divisional round.
Of these 4 games, just picking the outright winner, which one do you feel the most sure of? For everybody, I'm going to give you the point spreads here, okay? Point spreads are, we'll start off with the Bills, a road favorite by 1. You mentioned that night game. Biggest spread is Seattle at home by 7.5 over San Francisco. Then you have the 2 other games on Sunday. Just hold on 1 second, Danger. You've got Houston getting 3, so the Patriots favored by 3. The Bears, underdogs at home against the Rams. Surprised by that? It's the Rams by 3.5. Mike Danger, which one are you the most confident picking the outright winner?
Bills.
Texans.
The Texans defense have faced top 10 scoring offenses 8 times this season. The Patriots offense has faced a top 10 scoring defense 0 times this season. And I know it's the postseason, and the resume doesn't matter. You're in the tournament, and it's a different ball game.
Mm-hmm.
Texans defense looked really good yesterday.
C.J. Stroud looked terrible. He was awful last night. And Pittsburgh's defense, where they took it away, their offense couldn't put up points off those, and it came back to bite them. And eventually, the Steelers' offensive line wore down, and Aaron Rodgers looked like every year of his age, 42. Which is in a crazy world. If the Steelers accomplish their goal, we're not talking about Mike Tomlin being out as the head coach today.
Mike Tomlin steps down after 19 seasons, all winning seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They will look for their 4th head coach since 1969, which was a nice year. The the reports out there are that Tomlin has something waiting for him in terms of TV if he wants to get into TV. A number that I saw would equal what he would be set to make as if he were to stay as the head coach, $25 million. He had 2 years and $50 million left on his deal with Pittsburgh.
Well, if Tony Romo's getting $18 million, how much worse can Mike Tomlin be? Actually,
Romo's got to. They got to do something about that. That's just not going to work anymore. Next season will look different in Jim Nantz's booth. I have a feeling. And with that news that Tomlin has stepped down, it's almost like the NFL listens to the sports bar. We have how many coaching vacancies?
9 times.
More than a quarter of the league will turn over at their head coaching position.
Can we make it 10? I'm not kidding.
Let's just go for a dozen. Why not?
What's going on in Green Bay? Shameless plug. I'm going on Drake C. Toll. Now, give the new morning show guy a chance. And you should listen at 8:20 tomorrow because they're bringing me on to talk Buffalo Bills football.
That's big.
And I'm sure he's going to ask me, if the Bills lose this game, is McDermott out as head coach? Which, for an outsider, I would think, sure. And we had other people suggesting that. It's not happening. It's a moot point.
We believe it's not happening. And I don't know what it would have to look like for us to say, oh, yeah, it's time. He's cooked. But he wins a lot of football games, and once again, they've advanced in the postseason. They got everything to play for, and this is the same Denver, from a personnel standpoint, very similar Denver roster to what they faced last year, albeit at home in the wild card round, and handled with great ease.
We have RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas coming up at 5:45. So if you want to give us a call, I would suggest now at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Brad in Rochester. Hey, Brad.
Hey, what was the DraftKings number of everybody but Zach Taylor losing their job in
That's
the
correct.
AFC North?
Yeah, right.
What was the bet? I'd love to know what that is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think when we look back, and we have our bold predictions still from the preseason that we could look back on here at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I don't think we can bet on those sort of things.
Nobody predicted that. Nobody could have predicted that 3/4 of the coaches in the AFC North were going to lose their job. You could have said maybe one of the two but to say both Tomlin and Harbaugh are out and that Zach Taylor is the only one still remaining, how cheap is Cincinnati and how little does Taylor make compared to everybody else?
Well, I know we don't want to talk about next year, but let's take a look around. Like, when you're looking at the AFC, okay, Jacksonville being an exception that, okay, we're going to hit an upgrade, and there they are. But generally speaking, team, new head coach, you shouldn't expect all of a sudden to be a Super Bowl contender in year one, right? So between Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and let's lump in Miami, and because the Jets still, like, the Bills will be just fine next year.
And if you're a Steeler fan, this is probably something you wanted at least for the last 3 seasons, certainly for the last season. The longest tenured head coach now in the NFL is Andy Reid. He's been with the Chiefs since 2013, second longest. 3-way tie between McVay, Shanahan, and McDermott. I think that what we're about to enter into, if the Bills don't get a Super Bowl, is that just anger towards the head coach that a lot of Steeler fans had towards Tomlin with the early exits every year and the inconsistencies.
I think the excuse is right in front of you, Danger. They lose this game because, receiver can't get open or Mecole Hardman drops the ball. Like, if you're going to play the who deserves the blame game, ultimately it's Bean. Like, not fortifying position. I don't detect like anger toward McDermott. I think it's a fair point to debate, but we just keep telling you like that's not the way it is in Buffalo. But do you detect like anger toward McDermott? Because
from the fans,
you do.
Well, not this week. They won. If they would have lost, I mean, you know how this week would have gone. If Jacksonville gets the ball with just over a minute to go, drive down the field, kick a field goal, win in overtime, or score a touchdown, and win that game, we're talking about mismanagement of the clock. We're talking about not kneeling down and milking more of that clock, more of the same from McDermott, even though in that game, McDermott, great challenge that gave you some momentum back.
Great game plan, too, defensively.
Defensively, pretty good game plan. Really kind of stumped them. Admittedly, Jacksonville said, look, they gave us a lot that we hadn't seen, and we didn't really know how to get it going. But we would be talking about the coach needs to go. How could you make that decision? How could you score? How could you score when they're letting you score with over a minute to go and you know that there's a lot of time left and a kicker with the biggest leg in the NFL on the other sideline? That's what we'd be talking about. So when they win, nobody's going to complain about McDermott when they win. If they lose to Denver, let's say it comes down to remember when Russ beat the Bills on Monday night?
Oh.
Just a horrible loss.
Well, that in terms of regular season losses for Buffalo, certainly 13 seconds is its own category. But in terms of coaching and, gosh, then you lumped in the Ty Dunn article breaking that same week. You're like, oh, this doesn't look too good when you couple that the coaches blew that game against Denver. It wasn't just like that's the last play of that game. It was benching James Cook for that game. You benched him because you fumbled. Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Then if something like that happens again, then yeah, what does the world look like on Monday? Well, the world looks like fire McDermott. We'll hear plenty of it. So to get back to your original point, tomorrow morning, 8:20, you're on with Drake C. Toll, and you're already bracing for the question, does McDermott lose his job if this is happening? It's like, what are we talking about? That's crazy. To me, that's crazy talk. And yeah, there are moments where you could say he should lose his job, but he ain't losing his job. This team has been too good for too long under his watch, and now he's the second highest tenured coach in the NFL.
The way he's going, if he gets the one, because I was thinking about this, is Mike Tomlin a Hall of Fame coach?
Oh, yeah.
19 non-losing seasons, yeah. All McDermott needs is one.
One Super Bowl.
Marv Levy got the 4, but didn't win one, and he was a shoo-in.
Yeah. I would agree. There's something to that. And certainly doesn't help or doesn't hurt that you have 17 behind center. You hit your wagon to that quarterback and see what happens. As far as the vacancies that remain, we mentioned that there are 9 vacancies.
9 times.
Where would you rank them? Who has the best of the best in terms of these open positions? Where do you see somebody? Because I don't think Tomlin coaches next year, but Harbaugh certainly put it out there.
Let's put money aside, because is the number one factor the ownership or is it the quarterback? We could debate that because, all right, yeah, you do need the quarterback, but if you're a team, let's say like the Raiders, they don't have a quarterback now, but they soon will. How's that going to look? But you don't trust the ownership. To me, it's actually the Giants. I think the Giants have a decent roster. They have a loyal fan base. In New York, you think, oh, it's really tough to do in New York. No, it's not. They just demand accountability. And if you win in New York, there's no better place to win in the NFL. And they've underachieved over the years here with that roster. So to me, if I'm Harbaugh, if I really have my choice, I would think the Giants with that roster would be a good spot.
I think the most attractive job is the one that Harbaugh is no longer with. I think it's still the Ravens. I think the Ravens are attractive because you have Lamar Jackson. You have some pieces on defense, some studs on defense. And you've got a situation where ownership has basically said, we've underachieved. We have everything we need. We just haven't put it all together, and we need somebody that can do that. Good ownership, good organization, not dysfunctional. The Giants, you could say, they don't present as dysfunctional, a little dysfunctional. A little dysfunctional last few years.
Well, only because Hard Knocks showed you, right, don't let Barkley go. And
Terrible. And he's still there. And if you're John Harbaugh and you want, one of the demands you want is to be able to work with your
it might be a non-starter. Atlanta's an attractive position if you're okay with Matt Ryan looking over your shoulder.
You have some players.
Yeah, you have some players, and you have an owner that sounds like he's willing to do whatever.
Yeah, I kind of dismissed it, but I think I like Atlanta for Harbaugh.
Miami is not attractive. I'm sorry. I don't think the Dolphins, because what do you do with Tua? Your cap's going to be a mess, and your ownership, and they're dysfunctional too.
Correct. All right, we got to get to a round of shots. We're still going to talk to RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas before we get to 6 o'clock here. What do we got on deck, Gino?
Yeah, we've got some NBA talk. We haven't even touched on the Sabres losing last night, although not so bad. We do have finally a trade in baseball to report to you here on a Tuesday in January. We also have some good audio coming out of Philadelphia.
All right, we got that and more on the way here in the Sports Bar Danger and Battaglia on the Fan.
update.
More bad news on the injury front for the Buffalo Bills as we learned today that wide receiver Terrell Shavers actually played the second half of that game in Jacksonville on a torn ACL. Shavers is out for the season. Head coach Sean McDermott on this opponent.
They've got a great team, all three phases, a very well-coached team, and I have a lot of respect for Coach Payton, and he's done it at a high level, Super Bowl winning coach. So, we're going to go out there and have to make sure we're rested, through the week as we try and prepare as well on the short week here. And, we're going to have to play better than we did this past weekend in order to win.
The Bills a 1-point favorite in Denver this coming Saturday, 4:30, the kickoff. The big news in Pittsburgh today, after 19 seasons, Mike Tomlin stepping down as the head coach of the Steelers. Amerks taking on Syracuse tomorrow night. The Nighthawks have changed their game time Saturday to accommodate Bills fans. 8 o'clock now, the face-off. Gene Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester.
Bills fans, Odyssey is your home for football. Stay up to date on everything Bills, no matter where you are, with the Odyssey app and the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
We'll talk some RIT men's hockey with Coach Matt Thomas before 6 o'clock. Before we get to Thomas, let's get to a round of shots.
Yeah, you can't be all that upset the Sabres didn't come out on top against the Florida Panthers. 4-3 was the final. WGR's Paul Hamilton described the game last night of having a playoff feel, meaning there really wasn't much open ice to work with for either team. The loss ending a 6-game winning streak for Buffalo. Montreal coming to the arena on Thursday night.
Yeah, Montreal, this is a test for me as far as the fan base is concerned. Just knowing that Montreal usually...
It's Toronto light. It's like, oh, there's so much red in this arena.
Yes, and I've been hearing, I haven't been to every game, but I've been hearing that it's starting to feel, and Jeremy White, who joined us yesterday, said it's starting to feel like it used to feel in the barn. How does that look with Montreal coming in Thursday night after you just dropped one to the defending champs? I'm curious about that.
Panthers moved up their start time for their home face-up Monday against San Jose to 6 o'clock. That's going to allow their fans to see the second half of the local team, the Miami Hurricanes, playing for the national championship Monday night against Indiana. And for the Bills Saturday, kind of works out, in terms of the Sabres already set to drop the puck 12:30 against Minnesota. So basically on the Fan, this is how it's going to work on Saturday. We're the home of hockey. It's going to be the Sabres at 12:30, the Amerks at Utica at 6 o'clock. In between, we'll pick up where the Bills where we can. Bills you can hear, as always, on 96.5 WCMF.
Works out perfect.
And we mentioned the Nighthawks in the update, pushing back their face-off to 8 o'clock. Boston Celtics head coach Joe Mazzulla had a different way to voice his displeasure with the officiating following the loss to Indiana. Asked 6 questions, Mazzulla had the same response to every question: illegal screen, illegal screen. I play the soundbite, but it's actually kind of silly. That was it. He got up and he walked out. We'll see if he's fine. 7 games in the NBA tonight. Doubleheader on NBC has San Antonio and OKC, followed by the Warriors and the Trailblazers.
Very good.
Also tonight, the Lakers and the Hawks. The Lakers lost by 12 last night in Sacramento. But the big story here is that LeBron James gets to wear his own patch.
Here we go.
Yes. For the first time that we know of in the NBA, a player gets to do this. It's a number 23 to acknowledge his 23 seasons in the league. The colors of the patch are navy, red, and gold to represent the Cavs, the Heat, and the Lakers. Yeah. The silhouette is one of LeBron throwing chalk up into the air.
So I'm just going to say it. We might as well just go ahead and have this discussion now. No other NBA player should ever be allowed to wear number 23 because LeBron has worn 23 so well down the stretch, and it's his 23rd season. What is it with this guy? Like, why the constant need for validation?
The only thing I can think of, and it's a Fanatics deal where you could perhaps get a pat. Did the Lakers and the NBA, who's really profiting off of this? But ultimately, you got to run it past LeBron. And if it's a team sport, why are you doing this? Why?
There's nobody that's saying he's anything worse than the second best basketball player of all time. So why the constant? What for being a global superstar? I don't know that you could ever come across somebody as insecure as LeBron James. But wear that patch, and I'm sure it is. You're probably right. It's as simple as, hey, sell some jerseys.
LeBron, would you like some more money? We'll cut you in on this.
It's as easy as that. But it's gross. And when I think about the number 23, I'm not thinking about LeBron. I hope you understand it being facetious. Like, no, do not retire number 23. There's only one 23 that matters. And it's not the amount of seasons that LeBron has played. But good patch. Cool.
A surprise destination for Nolan Arenado after literally a year's worth of trade rumors. Finally, the St. Louis Cardinals moved him. Today he goes to Arizona. The move is nothing more than a salary dump. Some guy named Jack Martinez, a pitcher, goes in the other direction. Arenado at third base last year, not good. 237, 12 home runs, career low, 289 on base percentage. And he's got a lot of money left on the original 9-year, $275 million contract. 2 seasons still remaining. Arizona will pick up. Finally, meet 11-year-old Sam Salvo.
Mm-hmm.
Salvo echoing the sentiment of many Eagles fans. This courtesy of the local ABC affiliate. This right after the crushing loss to the Niners.
Yes, this was a huge letdown. This was my Christmas present, and I got a loss.
Oh, no. You probably would have rather had Cole, huh?
Yeah, probably. I'm feeling two of two things. A, I want A.J. Brown packing his bags, and I want him somewhere else that is not here. I love you, A.J., but, you can't make those drops in that game. And I also want Kevin Patullo flipping burgers at, the local McDonald's or something. I don't care.
Why do you say that?
Whenever he's an offensive coordinator, it's like he's flipping burgers. One side, he's cooking. One half he's cooking, and the other half is completely raw.
I'll go ahead and say it. Early nominee for Take of the Year.
Yes! He might be the youngest nominee ever.
Sam Salvo. Okay, we have to mark that down and remember the name. That's a takesman in the making right there.
Well, that's the old man, and then he's just firing. He can't be coming up with that line about flipping burgers, right? On his own?
They breed him young in Philadelphia. Yeah, you even heard the environment he's in. Some drunk idiot behind him. Hey, go Birds!
He's not the first kid to be on a Take of the Year nomination. There was one from years ago where terrible game on Sunday night, and Angel Hernandez, thank goodness he's out of baseball. Do you remember that? And Angel Hernandez is driving by. And some kid in the back, Angel Hernandez, you stink.
Yeah. In fact, I have it.
I know you would.
Angel
Hernandez, you stink, and I don't like you.
I stand corrected. The kid said you suck.
Yeah, the kid's in the background saying you suck. But yeah, we get it. That's good. That's our first Take of the Year nominee. That's Sam Salvo. Very good. I have another one I'd like to nominate. This happened in the last 24 hours as well. And it was, one of the greatest takesmen of all time. Love him or hate him. Stephen A. Smith talking about last night's game, the performance of one specific player, and maybe offering up some fantasy advice for 2026.
That's what we saw. We saw Charlie Kirk catch 8 receptions for 144 yards.
Yeah.
We saw
Christian Kirk.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Oh my God, Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
Oh really? Charlie Kirk out there catching passes.
Oh.
That's what we saw. We saw Charlie Kirk catch 8 receptions for 144 yards.
Yeah.
We saw
Christian Kirk.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Oh my God, Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Stephen A. is dipping his toe, and he wants to go from sports to.
I get it.
You will see him on some network dishing takes at 9 p.m. or whatever. It has nothing to do with sports, and certainly Kirk is. You want to talk that's a different show.
It's a slip.
It's a slip, but that's a slip. Normally, I slip up all the time. So do you, but you just kind of move on. That's one you got to correct on the fly.
Yeah, you have to say, I didn't mean to say Charlie Kirk. My God, how disrespectful. I apologize. I meant to say Christian Kirk, but there's probably a Kirk that's on his mind a little bit more than the football player. We got to get to Matt Thomas, RIT men's hockey coach. We'll get the latest from the program next on The Fan Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sport Leader 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
We welcome you back to the Sports Bar as coming up this weekend, Gene Policini Center. Back end of the home and home Saturday night, it's going to be the RIT men taking on rival Canisius. Joining us as he does at this time on a Tuesday before our home game. Home weekend is Matt Thomas, RIT men's hockey coach. Matt, appreciate the time there and getting back to conference play. Just how important was it to get 5 of the 6 points against Robert Morris this past weekend?
Yeah, huge. Obviously, you get conference play. It's so critical that you're taking points at home. Obviously, I didn't like leaving one on the table there on Saturday, but being down and coming back, tying it up, and then getting the win in overtime, that's always a good finish to a weekend. 5 out of 6 is a lot better than only getting 3. So important points for us for sure.
Yeah, in that 3-2 overtime win on Saturday, you do get the power play goal from Catalano, where the power play has been one of those areas that certainly would say you're working on. What are the keys to improving the power play for your team, would you say?
Yeah, it's just chemistry. It takes time. We don't have 2 guys that played together on the power play from a year ago on the same unit, and it hasn't been that way all year. So for us, there's so much new that it just takes time. Now, the one thing that I will say is we're moving the puck around really well. Like we're getting there. The goals haven't got in. I was making fun of Brimmer today, saying, listen, if you keep blocking as many shots in front of the net from our own guys, I'm going to play you in net next game. I'm going to put you in net. You'll be the goalie because, we've had a lot of really high-end chances that have hit our own guys on the way in, or, we've missed some plays. So nice for one to go in, but I honestly, I don't care about the percentage. The percentage means nothing to me. We're winning hockey games. What we will do is make sure that power play is a difference maker when it's going to matter most, and that's, down the stretch and into the postseason.
We're talking to RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas, the team taking on Canisius 7:05 at the Gene Policini Center, and one player I think has come on nicely, or like we're noticing, certainly Ben Roger, who he had a heck of a pass there to find Weigel for a third period goal in that Friday night game. And for folks who don't know, tell me something about RIT hockey. Okay, here's somebody that second round pick of the Ottawa Senators. Coach, how has he come along for the Tigers this season?
Yeah, he's been massive. That the steps he's taken, and I think he's a guy that fits really well in our system and the way we want to play. So we're seeing his game develop, but he's putting in a lot of work. And I think for him, he's a guy that I don't know how much offense we knew was in him. We certainly knew there was some solid defensive presence there. But the fact that he's doing what he's doing at both ends of the ice right now is just, it's a huge thing for our team. So it's nice to see us having somebody doing that.
The second time that you faced Canisius in a home and home. And I remember when we talked about this back in December, and you are an RIT grad, class of 1998, and I asked you the question, because if you ask Tiger fans today, okay, who's the rival? I can't stand Canisius. And I asked you that question. You said, when I was a player, I didn't like anybody. It was everybody on there. So that being said, yes, it's an Atlantic hockey matchup, but this one, for the fans, and I'm sure for your players, it might mean a little bit more being that it's Canisius.
Yeah, those are huge games. I go all the way back to when I played. This Saturday, we're honoring the 95-96 team that I played on, where we won the ECAC championship. And along the way, we had to go through Canisius, and that team was the Nationals runner-up. We lost in the national championship game to Middlebury that year out in Wisconsin. So it was we've got a great opportunity with a great rival this weekend. We left one on the table when we went to their building right before Christmas. That I thought between that and the Bentley game, those are the two that are really stinging me in terms of how we played and how we showed up. So for me, I really want to make sure that this is this Friday night in in Canisius is the type of game that we know we're capable of playing, and then we've got to finish it up with a big one at home on Saturday.
Yep, 7:05 for both games, Friday in Buffalo, Saturday night, Gene Policini Center. Last one question. I know I'm not going to be able to sway you off your favorite NHL team, you being a Leafs fan, having grown up, but at least are the Bills starting to rub off on you here in your brief, first year here in Rochester, Coach?
Hey, I've always been a Bills fan all the way back from my time being a student here. So the Bills have never left me. I like to pretend I was busting John's chops the other day saying that I'm an Argos fan, but I'm definitely a bandwagoner when it comes to any sport other than hockey. So I'm all aboard and a member of Bills Mafia for sure right now. If they want me or not, they don't have the choice. I'm in.
No, it's
so
all
ready
inclusive.
To go.
Like you are welcome on in. Everybody is welcome. Matt, good luck Friday night. We will see you Saturday. Really appreciate the time.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
There he is, RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas. Last call in the sports bar. Big weekend with Canisius, the opponent.
Yeah, Canisius.
Yeah. Tomorrow, we come back with more Buffalo Bills talk as we get ready for the divisional round. Saturday afternoon in Denver, Matt Perino covering the Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard. The Shout podcast as well stops by at 3:25. And our betting expert here at the sports bar, PJ Glasser, stops by with his picks for the divisional round. Also, the college football championship coming up on Monday night. We'll check in with the Rochester Nighthawks. Big win on Saturday night at the arena against Buffalo. Ryan Smith stopping by this time tomorrow here on The Fan. Hope you have a great night. If you missed any of the show, check out our YouTube channel, The Fan Rochester.